Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining, all few of you who are watching. My name is Tedders, or Chris. I'll be your game master for the evening. Tonight we are doing, I don't know what session this is, session 10 or something of the Keepers? 11 of the Keepers. Alright, so session 11 of the Keepers, and I think it's only, I don't remember what session it is that we're streaming. It's 3 or 4. We didn't stream last week, but this week we have a bonus. We have a bonus stream because there's lots of content. We wanted to squeeze one in before the holidays. So, without further ado, I'll hit the button and hey, look, there's the group. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey yo.
So we've got. Sorry, what's up, Vidrus? Dan?
I was just asking if anybody else was hearing Chris twice. It may be something on my end.
If you're hearing me twice, you're probably got the stream unmuted or something. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Anywho, it's all good. It's all good. We're waiting for a player to show up, but we have Verita, also known as Jamie, also known as her character Altario the Wizard. We have Phaedrus, also known as Dan, also known as the Rogue Scanlan. We have Bomaniac, also known as Rick, playing Nefler the Monk. We have Saint Landwalker, also known as Saint Landwalker, playing Raynor, when he eventually shows up. And we have the Dad Panther, whose name eludes me right now. Dad Panther, what's your name?
Ron.
Ron,
R-O-N.
playing Chiron, which makes a lot of sense.
There you go.
He's playing
Click it.
Chiron.
Wow. That's why it was funny when there was an NPC named Ron. I really wanted to save him, but we couldn't.
So we didn't actually stream the last session, which was arriving at... Well, you'd already arrived at Torma, and you discovered that Revius Gridhorn, who is Altario's mentor, was missing. And there was a whole bunch of nasty gas in his office that was reminiscent of the Bogwitch. So, who wants to recap what happened after that? Anyone? Going once? Going twice?
I can do it.
Perfect. And let me put on some dramatic music.
Oh, wow. I'll wait until I hear the dramatic music.
All right.
Hit the cue. Hit the cue.
Tell us what happened last time on the Keepers.
Ooh. So, last time, Altario, of course, had left off just outside of Revius's office with his familiar, Finnegan, lovable husky that he is. And she made her way very briefly back to the Dragon Wand to just sort of collect herself and get more information. Get some information together, and then met back up with the rest of the group at the tavern that they were all at. Scanlan also had some errands to run, and he then met back up with the group as well. And she relayed to them everything that she had found and that had taken place. And so we as a group collectively made the decision to go back to Revius's office to see if we could find any other clues as to what had taken place. We arrived back to the museum to see that there were guards outside, one of whom Scanlan knew, gave us a little bit of information as to what was going on. Scanlan was able to sort of look in through the window that Altario would normally use to get into Revius's office, and saw that there was a big old bear of a man, but it was a bear, in his office, wearing a trench coat, looking rather menacing. Altario knew exactly who that was. It is Bernard, also lovingly known at the Citadel as Fuzzy Wuzzy, but no one calls him that. And so Bernard is part of the Inquisitorial Squad that monitors the misuse of magic, that is run by the Church of Tace. And so he was there determining what had happened. Altario was convinced that there was additional information in the office, so she attempted to jump in there actually with Raynor. Kind of fell through the window in front of Bernard, but thankfully she knew who Bernard was and he knew who she was, so he helped to give her a little bit more information about what might have been going on. They noted that there were very large drag marks leading out of the office, leading to the elevator that is often used to transport skeletal remains up and down through the museum, as it is a museum and there are bones in it everywhere. So she and Raynor went down the stairs, down to the basement. We also managed to, the rest of the group was also talking to the guards again and eventually met up with us into the basement, where we found kobolds, which is a very big deal. They're very rare as of late because kobolds typically served the dragons that were in power. And as you may or may not know, in terms of the history of the world, dragons have not been seen for a very long time. So the fact that there were kobolds there is a very big deal. So a chase ensued. They ran down a hole in one of the tunnels that is sort of the underground infrastructure under Torma that Scanlan was familiar with. We opted not to chase them down the hole, but to follow the scratch marks from the dragon skull that was taken out into kind of a sewer estuary type thing. Followed that out into a small bog, and then realized that while we knew where the drag marks were headed, we had no idea who we're fighting, and we need more information. So we decided collectively to make our way back into the city proper and go to the Arcane Citadel to try to get more information.
That is very comprehensive. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now everyone's up to date on what happened last time. Does anyone want to talk about the last 10 sessions before that? Please don't. It's fine. So yeah, you're back in, or you're on, we left off, you were on your way back to Torma. We can end that super dramatic music. I guess we can leave dramatic music on because we are heading back to Torma. Okay, maybe not the Russian music. No, there we go. So you're heading back to Torma, and I'm assuming are you heading right for the Arcane Citadel?
Yeah, I don't think we had anywhere else that we wanted to stop.
Reasonable. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only other thing was if we wanted to go back through the underground passage and see, like, about how long did it take us to get out, and then if we were to go back in through that underground passage.
It probably took you, say, 5-10 minutes. You were pushed out there pretty quick down the water. It's a wild ride.
Yeah, no, my only question was whether or not we wanted to go back and see if we could take a look down the little hole where the kobolds went to see if there was anything to be learned there.
Right, and that hole they went down is the hole. So Scanlan is well aware of the underground network that exists underneath of Torma. It's used by smugglers to get certain places. So that hole they went down is the regular hole that's supposed to be there. That's not new. That's where that's where you expect to pop up to get to the water. It's just it was, they had tunneled an additional hole.
Ah, got it. Thanks.
So you're welcome to go back up if you want. It's going to be kind of a gross ride again, or you can spend the 30 minutes walking back through the main gates.
I'm all for main gates.
And it looks like Saint Landwalker has arrived. Welcome, Raynor.
Pleasure to be here. How are you?
Oh, you're quiet again. Hold on. I think I just cranked you up. Are you still alive?
I am.
Whoa, now you got really loud. Okay. Oh, it's the, remember that static issue last time? I don't know how we fixed it, but it's happening again.
Last time it wasn't an issue because I was using my phone instead of my computer.
Right, the time before that.
I have no idea.
I don't know. Okay, it's fine. I think it was something like one of the mutes doesn't work. Anyway, so as you remember, we were just saying last time you came out the waterway, now you're headed back to Torma. So the options are you can walk back or you can go back up the way you came out, through up the sucky hole instead of the blowy hole. You can clip that if you want, KB.
How technical.
You pick.
So what do you guys want to do? Sucky or blowy? Or walkie?
Walkie.
Yes.
I also
also
those
like
choices will do walkie.
I feel walkie.
I might go walkie.
I think everyone in the room is gonna say walkie.
No? Alright. Fine, ruin all my fun as the dungeon master.
That's what we're here for.
So you're walking back in, again, it's about a 30-minute walk. Anything you guys want to discuss on the way, or are you just going to walk back, wringing out your clothes and trying to get rid of the stink of the exhaust pipe of the city?
So
It's okay to not talk.
think-
It's fine. We don't have
Yeah,
to
I was
roleplay
gonna say,
all
I don't-
idle chatter.
I don't think Alteriel has too much to say at this particular point in time, other than she's just getting really. I don't want to say she's worried because I don't think we're at the worried point yet, but she's feeling more determined to try to get more information about what's going on.
Raynor is still very confused about what a kobold is.
I mean, Alteriel could explain it to you if you want. And if she does, basically, kobolds are these like pathetic scaled creatures. They're almost scaled. They're known as like tiny dragons because of the scales on them. They're not actually draconic at all. But basically, kobolds hang around dragons and worship them in hopes of favor, gaining favor, basically. So the fact that they're there is weird because they've been kind of rare since there aren't exactly a lot of dragons around. So also they tend to be hiding under like every city. Like they're always kind of around, but not seen a lot, and especially not in big numbers, and especially not risking coming into cities. They're kind of like raccoons. They look for the garbage and do stuff that way.
Yeah.
They're hell-bent on playing. The game is hell-bent on playing the Russian song, so I'm just gonna have to let it go.
Well, thank you for that information, Alterio.
You're very welcome. If Alteriel wants to tell you, but here I'll tell you instead.
we can role play that Alteriel told you. I don't know if she was. I don't know if you had all that information or not, Jamie.
I did. You gave it to me.
That's Val.
I'm sorry.
Fine. Just giving you shit.
All right, so you make it back to the city, and sorry, Scanlan, you said you had other things you want to do, but for now you're going to go straight to the Arcane Citadel.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had talked a little bit about in chat that, you know, I think we should probably not split up, but when we've kind of regrouped a little bit, Scanlan's going to go ask some questions, particularly about our friend, or perhaps enemy. We don't quite know just yet. What's his name? Thomas
Brack.
Thomas Brack.
Thomas
thank you.
Brack. Okay.
But I think that right now, sort of as we're still in the midst of sort of things, I don't think we should split up.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So, you guys pass through the walls into the Citadel, and it really is like you're entering a city within a city, because the Citadel, the Arcane Citadel, the wizard training grounds, is, for all intents and purposes, it is a city. It has its own pubs, it has its own shops. It's also walled, so you've got the outer city, the inner city, and then you've got the Arcane Citadel within the inner city that also has walls. And when you get in there, there's a large 10-story building kind of looming on the south side of the grounds, and then across a large what can only be described as park-like setting is the other side, which is the library, which is a big four-story building. There's young men and women in robes carrying tomes. They're basically everywhere. Some look excited, others deep in thought, some are laughing, some are firing off magic at each other. You hear explosions every now and then. And across the way, you see a dorm window breaking out, and then a puff of purple smoke kind of drifting out afterwards. And if anyone not from Torment hasn't been from here, it might be of concern, but anyone who's been here a while, these are basically normal things. I think we worked out there's something like 2,000 students at the Arcane Citadel, so there's bound to be some misuse of magic, as it were. So you're here at the Arcane Citadel. You're investigating a missing professor slash mentor slash curator of the Museum of Dracothropology. What are you guys going to do? Where are you going to go?
So I think the first place Alteriel wants to go is she's going to want to talk to somebody she trusts about the fact that Revius is missing, and she and the headmaster of the school don't have a particularly great relationship, but she and the necromancy professor do have a good relationship, and that professor is also friends with Revius, so I do think she wants to talk to her. And then head to the library to try to find information on Thomas Brack and maybe try to learn a few things while she's there for herself. So
So you know the library wouldn't have any, like, I'm not sure what you're hoping to find in the library, but I mean, you can go.
Yeah, can you remind Raynor what the context of the Thomas Brack name was that came up last time? It was
Thomas-
a note, wasn't it?
Thomas Brack is the name that Revius scribbled down in his notes. So I think the other thing that I think the reason she might want to go to the library is he also noted Uinor on the scratch of paper that he left before he was attacked. And so she may just want to look at the history of Uinor to see if there's anything that maybe is of significance.
Mhm.
That was the reason she wanted to go to the library, and to maybe learn a particular spell that someone's been giving her crap about not knowing. So
Library also isn't the spot to get spells, but you do know that the workshop sells spell scrolls.
okay, then that would be where she wants to go. Probably starting with Lycilia, I would think.
To Lycilia.
Scanlan, would Effers know anything about potentially a Thomas Brack?
I can try and find out. But I would have to go find him and ask.
Well, you're all at the Citadel for now, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do you think, are you better off talking to your professor alone? I'm sorry, I don't, she be more likely to, would she be more likely to be open to you as opposed to 4 people she doesn't know?
I think she probably would, just because she hasn't probably seen me in a while, and so for me, the first thing coming to her with would be the fact that Revius is missing may not be well received if there's a bunch of other people with me. So yeah. But it shouldn't be a very long conversation, I would think.
Okay, I was going to say if we want to go talk to Scanlan while she's doing that, but if it's going to be short, we can just hang out here for a minute.
It's a good probably another 30-minute walk to get to where Effers would be.
Yeah. Scratch that.
The sergeant, the lower village, so you'd have to leave the Citadel, walk through the city into the lower village where the watchtower is, and yeah. I mean, you could probably do it in 10 if you were quick, but
so we can hang out here with Finnegan while Terria goes and talks to the
Sure.
necromancy professor.
Sure. You're not sure. She could be in many places. She could be teaching a class. She could be in her office. She could be at the necromancy house. She could be in the library. So where would you like to go?
What time of the day is it?
I don't know. Let's say it's a good time of day that makes sense for there to be classes and stuff instead of like middle of the night like it was. We'll say you adventured and dug around in underground for a while. So we'll say it's, I don't know, let's say 10 in the morning.
Okay. So then, yeah. So it's too late in the day for her to still be out hunting. So she's probably in her office or in her classroom getting ready to teach. So I'll start there.
Okay. So when you walk into, are you checking her office or her classroom?
Her classroom first and then her office.
So you know that to get to certain classrooms, you have to have basically the equivalent of your student ID, which basically will let you pass into certain areas of the school, and you don't have one.
Okay.
Or you probably do, but it's a few years out of date. It's been a while since you've been there. So you can go to the front desk and ask for a pass.
Should have made more alumni donations.
I know. It's my own fault. So it's
Didn't pay
fine. I'll
those
go to
parking
the
tickets.
I'll go to the front desk. That's fine.
I'm guessing trying to charm anyone or test minor illusion around here is an exceptionally bad idea.
I mean,
you'll
you
get found
can.
out pretty quickly.
Not that Raynor would ever condone such things, but could we get an example of a hall pass and Scanlan maybe do something?
It's not actually a pass. It's literally a magical charm. Like it's like a brooch you wear that'll let you pass through the protections that are there. Yeah. So are you all going to the main? Are you all moving in, or just Alteriel moving in to talk and try and charm her way through?
I think just Alteriel, huh?
It's just
Yeah, I
me.
think she should just.
All
Yeah.
Alteriel all the time. So you guys see Alteriel kind of, she stops in one way then the other, and then she looks at you and Go that way. So to the main building, and as you do, there's a bunch of, to your eyes, maybe look like children now, but it wasn't that long ago you were in their position.
The young ones.
Yes.
I remember.
Please don't go all Anakin on them.
I'm not gonna. It's not the Sunday group. It's fine.
I don't have a sword. It's fine.
I don't.
Yeah, so you make your way in, and there's a woman sitting at the front desk, and you recognize her. You've had to deal with her before. It's the head administrator. And her name is Rosianna Palwander, but she goes by Roz. And she's busy talking to a young, distressed-looking wizard-to-be who then sulks off, and she goes back to whatever she was working on at her desk.
Okay. Excuse me. So I walk up to the desk and I warmly greet her. I said, "Oh, Roz, it's nice to see you. It's been a little while. How are you?"
She looks up over her glasses and is like, "Hey, honey, what are you doing here?"
Well, I have a little bit of business to attend to. I need to speak with Lycilia, if I could. But I don't seem to have anything to allow me passage to that part of the school. So I was wondering if you could help me with that.
She looks up at you over her glasses, then back down her paper, and she lets go of the quill she was using, and as she does, it just keeps writing, and you notice there's 3 or 4 different quills all writing in different notebooks all around her. And she sits back and she clasps her hands in her lap and says, "You're not a student anymore, hon. I can't just let you run around the school. Like, is there something you're looking for in particular? Or, I can leave a note for her to contact you? Are you in town long?"
So Alterial smiles, but leans forward with a slightly more serious look on her face and says, "It's about Revius. Something's happened. I need to speak with her about it."
What would Lycilia help you with Revius? That guy's a cad. Like, he's probably gone off on some adventure. You know how he is.
Nevertheless, they're best friends, and if my best chance at the moment of trying to figure out where he might be is to start with her.
Cut off her finger.
Cut off her finger? Jesus.
No.
Alterial turns around and gives him
I just tucked my head around the corner and
Cut off her finger. It'll be fine. She reaches down to a diary floats up in front of her face, and the pages flip. She says, "She's teaching right now. You gonna interrupt her class? Is it that important?"
It's that important.
Then why aren't you talking to the dean?
The dean and I don't have the best relationship.
Oh, I know.
And
I've seen your records. I know. I see what he says about you.
Mm-hmm. So you understand why I'm not going to the dean first.
If he catches you here, it'll be my head, okay?
I saw nothing, and I got here out of my own accord. It had nothing to do with you. Got you covered.
A little visitor badge hovers up out of nowhere and sits down in front of the desk. And she goes back to work and says, "Get out of here. It's nice to see you, hon."
Thank you. Always good to see you.
Yeah,
Badge and I
she's like 3 feet tall and kind of sitting on a chair with a bunch of cushions on it. So she's a gnome. She's very busy. So you're gonna make your way up to the necromancy classroom.
Indeed.
So the way this school is constructed is the main floor. Make sure I get this right from all the notes. As a group, came up with how the Arcane Citadel works. The Arcane Citadel has 10 floors. The first floor is basically administration, meeting rooms. There's a teleportation circle there. The next floor up is the non-arcane classrooms. So it's got lecture halls and labs for subjects that aren't magical. Beyond that is when you need access, and there's a bunch of different floors depending on the subject, which includes private study areas, lecture halls, labs of some sort. So the third floor is where you'll find the necromancy. Really what happens is the higher up you are is the more advanced you are in your schooling, and of course you just go up because why not? That seems to be how it works anyway. And when are you just slipping into her classroom? Like, what's the plan?
So Alterial more than likely tries to be as stealthy as possible and as sweet as possible about this, but she just sort of opens the door and very like slyly. I would imagine her classes are not very big, so it's not as if she's not going to notice Alterial walking into the room. But she's going to be as respectful and as quiet as she can be, and just open the door and slide into the classroom and just sort of lean back against the back of the classroom wall and wait for her to be finished with what she's doing.
Okay. So as you step in, you see there's a huddle of about 10 students up front, and they're all standing, and you can see why. Lysilia is there in her, as soon as you enter, her familiar, it's a raven, kind of squawks a little bit, and everyone turns to look at you, and then turns back. And the reason being is there's a zombie standing in there. Right beside Lysilia, and everyone's kind of examining it, and it's just sitting there kind of, it doesn't seem to be doing anything. And she demonstrates how she can give it commands. She says, walk over there. And she points and the zombie shuffles over. Then she says, come back. And it shuffles back over. And she looks thrown off her game a little bit with you there. And she looks up at you, and her eyes darken a little bit and then soften, and then she looks back at the class and says, that's it for today. And she puts a wand right up to the side of the head of the zombie and just winks out of existence. It's gone. And the class shuts their books, and they gather their things, and as they're walking by you, they're all looking at you in a way like, hey, you interrupted our class. These are later year students. They all want to be there, and they all want to be necromancers, which is a little weird. There's not many people who want to be necromancers. They're not exactly they're not put on pedestals like other wizards are. It's more like, ew, you play with dead. That's not okay. And there's a history of undead in this world. And eventually they all file out, and she leans on her desk with her hands on the desk and looks at you and, well, you've interrupted the class. What can I do for you, Alterial?
It's nice to see you too, Lysilia. I walk.
It's been 2 years. Not even a postcard.
No, it's been some time. I sort of sit in one of the chairs in the front row near her desk.
You probably never actually took one of her classes, would you?
No, I probably wouldn't have. I would have known who she was and would have
Sure.
gotten to know her, but I would have had no reason to take one of her classes. So I look at her and I say, I apologize for the lack of communication. I apologize as well for the urgency with which this has come up and the abruptness with which this visit has taken place. Would have loved to see you under different circumstances. We have a problem. Revius is missing.
What do you mean he's missing? You mean he's gone off on some bender, or he's gone looking for bones in Radapesh?
No, it's not like that. I wouldn't be coming to you if it was like that. My companions and I have been dealing with a bit of a demon problem, and we discussed with him the details of what we were dealing with. He had gone off to get me some more information. He sent me a note telling me to meet him at our spot when we got back to Torma. I went there. He wasn't there. We went to his office in the museum, and it was filled with a green poisonous gas, and his office looked like it had been attacked, that he was in a struggle, some sort of fight. He's gone. This dragon skull in his office is gone. His orb is gone. This is not him gallivanting. This is a problem.
She looks a little more concerned now. We need to go to Osmir. Osmir is the dean.
We have to go to Osmir? Is that a thing we have to do?
Yes, we have to go to Osmir. He's the former master of divination. He'll be able to find him.
Doesn't like me.
You're acting like you're a fifth year again. Let's go.
Oh, fine.
And she'll
Got in trouble.
Before we leave her office, I stop her for a second. I say, listen, the two things that he left on his desk that I found were a note about someone named Thomas Brack and the words Uinor can't see. As if there's something in Uinor that he couldn't see or couldn't find. I'm telling you this now because I don't know what the dean's deal is. I understand he doesn't like me. He has personal biases. I'm not talking about that. I just don't know what's going on. There's a lot of things happening right now. And I know I can trust you with this information, which is why I'm telling it to you before we walk in there and talk to him.
I don't know the name Thomas Brack.
Okay.
The fact
That's
that he
fine.
can't see something is incredibly odd, what with his toys. And she kind of makes reference to the crystal ball he has.
Yeah.
That is an issue. Come, we'll go see Osmir.
Fine. Okay.
She looks at you like, you don't be a petulant child.
I'm not. I straighten up a little bit, try to not look like I'm gonna punch this person in the face.
If Revius was there, he'd be telling you, you're a graduate of this school. He's just an old man. Stop being such a whiny little bitch.
Fine.
You know
Sort of
he would
curses
too.
I know he would, and so she hears this in her head, and she sort of curses at herself, like, stop being a bitch, just, it's
You stop being such a child. So you make your way up the stairs. Not this. We'll say there's an elevator, so you don't have to climb all the way to the 10th floor. But you get up to the 10th floor, and Lysilia just walks into his office, which you would never do, and no one would really ever do that. But Lysilia doesn't really care for formalities. And Osmir turns. He's at his desk. Behind his desk, he had a book, and it's a dramatic turn, like, oh, I'm busy reading a novel, or I'm busy researching. And he turns and looks over his shoulder, quirks an eyebrow, and Osmir is an elf. I believe the picture I picked for him is very much what's his face from Lothlorien.
Yes, it is. In fact, I think it was that picture specifically.
It definitely is. I don't remember his name.
The king,
Yeah,
Celebrimbor.
sure, that one.
No, that's not it. Mission memory.
Here, I'll see if I can. I'll throw it into so we can see it here on the stream anyway.
Celeborn.
Yeah, that guy. So he turns and looks over his shoulder, kind of with that look on his face, like, ugh. And he says, Lysilia, Altariel, for what do I owe this intrusion?
So Altariel steps forward in that moment and says, good afternoon, Dean. I have a pressing issue to discuss with you.
He snaps the book shut and puts it on the table. Indeed, it must be pressing to interrupt Lysilia's class and then march your way through my office door.
It is.
Are you having a divination emergency?
Revius is missing. No, he's not
That's not news.
gallivanting. No, he's not hunting for bones. His office was attacked. He and his orb and the dragon skull that was in his office are gone. And it looked as though there has been a struggle.
Lysilia raises her eyebrows. She looks at you because there's some things you left out when you were talking to her, and now it's all coming out. And
Did I leave something out when I said something to her? I thought I had said everything just now the same.
maybe I just wasn't listening to you.
Lysilia wasn't listening to her.
Yeah, that's right. Osmir raises both eyebrows. He's missing, he's been attacked. The skull is missing, as well as the orb. Do you know how... He walks over and opens a drawer from there's just a wall of drawers. And he pulls out another orb. Literally a crystal ball. It's slightly different than Previous's, but he starts peering into it. He does his best Saruman impression of making like really long spindly fingers over top of the crystal ball like it's a Palantir trying to look into it. And he quirks his head and then kind of you see the arcane magic dripping from his fingers and infusing the ball, and he looks more and more confused, and more of this magic dumps into it, until eventually the ball is starting to glow, the crystal ball, and then it just explodes and he curses. I couldn't see him.
Interesting.
He looks more concerned more than anything. He's a master of divination. His life is being able to see things, and the fact he can't seems to have bothered him greatly, to the point where he tried to enhance this crystal ball and it exploded on him.
Here's what I know. When I went to find him in his office at the museum, his office was filled with a green gas that myself and my companions are very familiar with. An enemy that we have not yet encountered but have heard of greatly, named the Bog Witch, attacks villages with gas. We've come upon several of these in our time trying to get here and do other things. His office was filled with this gas. There were scorch marks everywhere, as if there was a struggle. He had left me 2 notes, one of which was a name, Thomas Brack, and the second note was literally the sentence, "Uinor can't see." For Revius, that's not normal for him to not be able to see, and the fact that you can't see him seems to potentially be connected somehow. But do you know the name that he left? Anything about that person?
First of all, the fact I cannot see him means one of 2 things. He's being shielded by some sort of magic, or he's dead, and his body is gone. I'm hoping it is not the latter. The name I am familiar with, as was Revius. Thomas Brack is a name I haven't heard in many years. He attended the Arcane Citadel some time ago. Revius knew him. Thomas Brack was expelled. He kind of stares at Lycilia and said, his fascination with necromancy bordered on perversion. I don't think they weren't friends, Revius and him, but they were in the same class together.
Really quick, I'm sorry. When you say they were in the same class together, they were attending the Citadel at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. So Lycilia probably would have been there with them at the Citadel at the same time, too, then.
Was she? I thought she was slightly younger.
Oh, then maybe not. Yeah, you're probably right. Okay. So he attended the Citadel at the same time Revius did. What else do you know about him?
Not terribly much, as I wasn't in charge then. I mostly focused on the divination students. He gestures to the table, and a piece of parchment comes up, as well as a quill, and it starts writing on its own. It does a little flourish at the end, almost like it's signing a signature. And the page floats over to you. If you take this to Roz, she'll make sure you have access to everything you need. And if you look at it, it basically says, Alterial is to be given full access to all records in the what's the name? What am I looking for?
Restricted section?
No, the Hall of Records. And that's all it says. And it's just
Hall of Records.
and it's all signed nicely.
Okay. So she takes the paper and says, "Thank you for this. This will be incredibly helpful." Any indication why Uinor would have been so hard for him to see?
It's possible he was looking for the same thing I was. I was drawn to Uinor, but it is large. I wasn't able to see anything beyond the general area.
Okay.
Now I'm going to have to fashion another crystal ball. Do you know how long that takes? He's moved on. He's moved on to his care for wait, what just happened to my music?
Really tense all of a sudden.
Yeah, his relationship with Revius is they tolerate one another.
So, Alteriel says, thank you for this. I'll go and look to these records right away.
He nods.
Walks out of the office.
Lysilia's with you, and she's... I have much to do, but I can put it aside to help.
If you'd like to, it would be greatly appreciated.
You mentioned your friends. If we're going to the Hall of Records, you may need them.
Yes, it would be very nice of you to meet them. So we can do that.
Nice, I suppose. Are they wizards? And you'll have this conversation as you're descending.
Some of them have some arcane tendencies, but no, none of them are wizards. It's just me.
Basically a wizard.
You just say you're basically a wizard?
We're only wizards in the metaphorical sense.
Where was that gif you sent the other day that was I'm a wizard? Yeah, that one. See if I can find that and throw it up on screen. Keepers. That seems right. I'm a wizard. So yeah, you descend down, and what have you guys been doing outside? Are you just like, are you tripping any of the nerds, or what are you up to?
Tripping the nerd. That's nice.
Oh, most definitely tripping nerds.
Tripping nerds. So yeah, once you get downstairs and look outside, you see, I guess they're busy teasing and fucking with kids because they're terrible people. But you knew that already.
I was playing with Finnegan. I don't know what these malcontents are doing.
Scanlan's talking about ultimate power, and you don't know the power of the dark side, and there's a pile of children lying in a circle around him.
No.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm sending Karuxa around to like strategically crap on the nerds' heads.
Jesus. Your Fey Owl is shitting magical shit on the...
Well, what do you do when you're like told to wait outside?
Roll a D100 for me.
Sure.
How many kids got pooped on?
Almost.
Was it
It's
roll?
slash roll.
Slash roll.
40.
So you see
That's about
Karuxa
12,
flying around, and she's pooping away.
The great
She's pooping.
Sydney.
And then you see like a pink ball of energy go flying up from somewhere. It hits Karuxa, and Karuxa just goes.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no, no, no.
Oh no.
Can I tell where the pink ball of energy came from?
Yeah.
Give me an
Nephil kinda
Arcana.
slowly turns her head and looks at Stan.
Give me an Arcana check. You have no fucking clue.
Not.
Actually, you know what? You do. You're pretty sure you saw there's a kid who looks ultra nervous. He's sitting on a bench maybe 50 feet away, looking like he's trying to read his book. But he's definitely...
Did you just roll initiative?
Oh my gosh. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
You don't need to roll initiative.
Raynor
You
is
just-
sitting
you-
on the ground, leaning against the wall, pretending like he's asleep.
So you're just gonna walk up to this kid?
Yes.
Okay. He looks up nervously, and then he looks around like, why is this intimidating looking gentleman walking towards me, basically? And he shuts the book and is like, hello, sir. What can I do for you?
Did you just hurt my friend?
Who's your, I don't, I don't know what you're talking. I don't hurt anybody. I'm the one who gets hurt most of the
Yeah,
time.
I think you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about, kid.
I really don't. I'm the one who usually gets hurt. They punch me and they take my robes and.
Am I
You
seeing
don't have
this
a
as
lot
I'm
of time to
walking
make
out?
this okay, kid.
So, okay,
Yeah,
Chiron just
yeah, so, yeah.
walks in between the two as they have this conversation, and I kind of tap him on the shoulder. Is everything okay here?
Who are you tapping, Scanlan or the kid?
Yeah, Alan.
And you'd see this happening. There's a kid, maybe 15, smaller than average, just shrinking into himself, looking up at Scanlan. And now Chiron is there, tapping him on the shoulder.
Oh my god. Alteriel just sort of does one of these, like, oh my god, what happened?
I'm sorry, whatever you think happened, I didn't do anything.
I'm sure it's a misunderstanding, and we're guests here, and I'm sure this is all be figured out over breakfast.
They make really good waffles in the mess hall.
Well, you know what? How about first rounds on me? And I just kind of walk off.
It's included in my tuition.
Don't worry about it. Then
Take
you
the
can
waffles,
you can
kid.
buy mine.
And what's
waffles?
And what's Scanlan doing?
Looking.
To be fair, you know you can just resummon your owl, right?
I do. I
Okay.
do.
Just take some
It's the
effort.
principle of the matter. Scanlan is going to, I don't know, just to show that I'm the bigger person. I'm going to cast Mage Hand.
And wedgie him?
I'm going to wedgie him so fucking hard, and then I'm going to knock all of his books onto the ground. And be like, hey kid, guess what? Gravity. Fucker.
Anyone watching is just, he punches and sits up and like, ow, 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 ow. Fuck, who are you, guy? What are you doing? Lysella looks at Alteriel and is like, your friend?
That's not their
Oh.
finest moment. We've been under some stress. Cut him a
I'm
break. And I just
basically a
yell,
wizard.
And thus the
Basically
villain
a
origin
wizard.
story was begun.
basically a wizard. That's how I'm introducing you, by the way. So I walk over to the group and Chiron, did you go to get waffles with this student, or are you back
No,
to meet
there's-
Lysilia? Or
He could have walked
Okay.
off, but he wouldn't get in. One, he wouldn't get in to get waffles. And two,
Okay.
the kid's too busy picking his underwear out from being deep in his asshole.
okay, so
No, he's pretty much flossing with it at this point.
Yeah.
You owe me waffles.
So I walk everybody, or I walk over to everybody, and I say, everybody, this is Lysilia Talaran. She is the head necromancy professor here at the Citadel. Is a good friend of mine and of Ravius.
She's very
Yeah.
stereotypical necromancer, as you can see.
Neffler kind of flinches a little bit when she says necromancer.
Oh, yeah.
Chiron just smiles.
A pleasure. I see you've been making acquaintance with... You've been mingling with the students, have you?
I like to
Yeah.
mingle.
He's a bard. He mingles.
No, I was more referring to you peddling your cantrips with poor Chauncey over there.
Chauncey? So
Of course his name is Chauncey. Of course his name is Chauncey.
His middle name is Murder.
Chauncey.
Chauncey has some promise. He is picked on a little bit.
Thomas,
What is his field? What is he wanting to choose?
He hasn't specialized yet. He's only year 2.
So, I look at the group and I explain everything that happened with the dean of the
Sure.
school and show them the piece of paper, and I say, we need to go to the Hall of Records. Thomas Brack and Revius knew each other. They attended the Citadel together, but he was expelled from the school. And according to the dean, he had a very perverse level of fascination with necromancy. I have a feeling that I know the connection here, but I have full access now to the Hall of Records and I need to look things up. So if you guys want to come with me, I would appreciate it. Lycilia is coming as well to help look through everything we can. And I explain what happened as well with the orb and how the dean couldn't see Ravius, which is kind of the same problem that Ravius had trying to look into Uinor and couldn't see what was going on. Except the crystal ball exploded. So that was bad.
Nefler is just kind of staring holes at the professor right now, especially after Altario mentions Thomas being another necromancer who is obsessed about it. And she's trying to hide, probably not successfully, her unhappiness.
My friend, I don't raise the dead. I help ease their passing. Not all necromancers are vile creatures.
She'll nod and say, "That's good to hear."
Is there going to be a
much in common that way?
Ah, you're one of those. Excellent. We're not going to have a problem then?
If we're helping them pass along, we are not going to have a problem in the least. It is
excellent.
Good to hear.
Good. Later on, I'll introduce you to my army of undead. I kid, of course. There's no army of undead.
It's only a regiment at most.
Have you had the occasion to help somebody pass on recently, out of curiosity?
I stick to the animals in the forest surrounding Torma, but it's been quite a while since I've helped any humans or dealt with anything that way. Humanoids, I should say.
I'm sorry, when she says helps the animals, she means pass on as well, or? And would I know, would the animals be having issues as well, or is it just humanoids that I saw?
You only saw humans. You don't know what the passing of animals is like, if they get to go, if you don't know if they get to ascend up Rok'n'Rul stairs or not.
So just the rainbow bridge instead of the stairs. Have you noticed any problems lately with any of the animals passing along? Just curiously.
They all have unfortunate passings. Most of the ones that I would do this I aid are sickly or have other issues.
But they've been able to pass peacefully once they've gone?
She spreads her hands apart. As far as I know, I don't deal in the divine.
Fair enough.
So you're heading to the Hall of Records, are you?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
As we head that way, I take a couple steps back and sort of fist bump Scanlan and go, "Nice mage hand, good job."
No one really has access to the Hall of Records, so you will have to go see Roz again.
Right, yeah, we have to, go see Roz to give her the thing and then go, yeah.
Yeah, she looks at the access and looks up at you and says, "Yeah, there's an awful lot down there. You sure you're gonna be okay? I see you got a whole regiment with you to do the searching."
We'll be all right. I appreciate it.
Roz nods and
this
says,
can't be the Roz that you told us about, is it? It's so nice to meet you. She's spoken so highly of you.
Altario nods very happily.
"Have you? Am I forgetting something, or are you just bullshitting?"
I'm just buttering her up.
Oh, I see. She says things about me, huh? So who are you looking for down there anyway?
They can't possibly all be true.
Of course they're not
true. So many stories.
Most people hate my guts.
Wow. Altario, she's hardly most people.
Oh, she was her own trouble.
We're like,
oh,
hell yeah. Yeah.
I would like to have a drink with you sometime, Roz.
You don't need a drink with me. Just make sure when you're down there in the Hall of Records, you just look up her file.
Oh.
Noted.
That sounds promising.
So who are you looking for, hun?
Thomas Brack.
Oh, that kid was trouble.
What do you remember of him?
A little guy, real skinny. He was always getting in trouble. Always had to see the dean. Always Revius was always involved somehow. But yeah. So to get to the Hall of Records, you go down 2 flights, then you turn right. You go past the necromantic containment, and it should be on your left. And then she turns and looks at Scanlan and says, "Make sure this one keeps his hands to himself. I'll know."
Here in time.
I'm sorry. Did you say necromantic container?
Containment, yeah. We keep some of the specimens there. It's all on the up and up. They donate themselves to the Citadel and say, "Please learn from our bodies."
Okay.
Their souls are well looked after. I promise you. The Church of Taste is always on it.
Altario sort of looks back at Nefgler and says, "Yeah, the Church of Taste doesn't. They monitor the misuse of magic, so everything is."
Speaking of taste, is there any way we can get some of those? I was told you guys have delicious waffles, maybe to fuel the learning.
Speaking of taste, the goddess of magic, you think of waffles?
Not taste. She hands him a loaf of bread.
Rainer's just kind of shaking his head like, "Trust me, it doesn't take much."
Is he okay? Should we get him? Does he need to?
He's fine. He's just hungry.
Okay, don't eat anything down there.
Noted.
So you make your way down. You go down 2 flights. You find the necromantic containment. It's labeled as such. You can't see in. There's no windows. You're well underground. Everything's well lit. There's the torches that are kind of seem to be everywhere in Torma that are ever burning torches. And you find the Hall of Records. And as you push your way in, you can see the room is dark. And a few moments after stepping in, there's a soft glow starts to illuminate from above, and you can see that this room is actually like 3 stories high. And the light is so dim, it's almost just enough to see your hand in front of your face. And then small lights wink into existence, one for each of you, and slowly descend, hovering about a foot over your head, lighting the way. You see each shelf has a small brass tile with an engraving on it. 002A, F7472, G82. It might take you a while to find. As you look, this is the equivalent of like an Amazon warehouse of records and files. If anyone, let's see how fast you guys can do this. Who wants to roll an investigation check?
Yeah, I will.
Actually, all of you roll an investigation check.
Oh, well, then I'll give myself guidance.
Ugh.
One more from Raynor. I'm betting Saint doesn't have his character sheet open. Oh, he doesn't see anything.
That's uncalled for.
So Scanlan and Nefgler. Scanlan, are you looking for Thomas Brack or are you looking for Altariel?
Right now, I'm looking for Thomas Brack, but if I come across Altariel, I'd probably give it a read.
Sure. So eventually you find it, and you find that almost all the students have like basically like a small journal. And then you find Thomas Brack has a huge box with multiple journals in it. Do you look through on your own first, or do you call out to everyone?
I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna like just mark where it is and keep on looking for Altariel for the moment.
Okay.
But no, I think no. If Altariel has anything she wants to tell me, she'll tell me. I will. I'm gonna call everybody over.
Sure. So you call out, and you guys hear echoes. Sorry, go ahead, Saint.
Raynor has his head stuck in a bookshelf, so he can't. He didn't investigate very well.
He only rolled a 3. It's not that bad. Maybe the
can't
dust.
read, can't you?
Maybe the dust got to you. Yeah, so you all make your way over and you find Scanlan has this box marked Thomas Brack, and inside there's multiple journals, parchment papers, and as you dig through, you find it's filled with disciplinary documents, trouble with other students, analysis of his obsession with the undead, and finally his expulsion based on all of the above. There are also notes of him breaking into the vault at the library, which is basically a secure area of the library that has stuff that's banned from most students seeing. And also intense research into animating and reformation of long dead souls, as well as the study of lichdom. And from all the notes, basically you can gather he was a loner. It also appears that he had quite a few interactions with Revius. All the notes actually paint a picture of someone who, Thomas being the victim of a lot of bullying and pranks pulled on him at the hands of Revius. In the end, basically his obsession and the multiple break-ins to the vault and looking into things had him expelled after he was caught by inquisitors from the Church of Tace in a local graveyard animating the dead. That was the final straw.
Scanlan's going to shake his head and say, "That's why I never tolerate people picking on the weaker kid."
Chiron just stares, shaking his head.
Oh shit! Chauncey's gonna grow up to be like some demented guy who just picks on everyone.
What I would know what's in the vault, right? In the Citadel, like I would know what would like. Does
You'd know the type of stuff that you'd know the type of stuff that was there. You wouldn't necessarily be as familiar with everything.
Does it indicate in the journals like why he was trying to get into the vault?
Just reading up on things like lichdom, anything on that would be in the vault. Anything on any sort of reanimation of something that's long lost or a soul that's very old would be in there. And usually those type of things aren't available to wizards. It kind of falls into the divine to be able to restore someone like that. But yeah, there's definitely if he was looking into reanimating lichdom, that would all be kind of not for general public to look at.
Right. So everybody's reading this at this point, right? Like everybody's reading.
I assume you all kind of picked up different books, read through them, and discussed. I didn't want to. I guess I could have written up a buttload of things and had you all read them and then just roleplay it, but it's much easier for me to say it this way. Yeah. So some of you got some disciplinary things, some of you got, his final expulsion, etc., etc.
So how old, does it say what year he was expelled in?
He was expelled in his 4th year.
Okay, so before he would have chosen specialty.
Before he could have specialized in the necromancy, yeah.
How old would he have been?
Depends on when he enrolled. Let's say 19.
And how long ago was the attack on Midwood?
Not that long ago.
Less than 3 years.
Yeah.
4 years.
Okay.
The initial attack, anyway.
Yes. The first attack, not the.
And about how long ago was it? Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you right now.
It's okay.
And about how long ago was it that this expulsion happened?
So it was 19.
I'm assuming Revius is older than about 23, so.
Yeah, I think I put Revius as almost 50, maybe? Or 47, 50, something like that. Revius, 47. So, let's say about
25 years ago.
25, 26 years ago. Or if we make them about the same age, because they would have been around the same age, it would have been 28 years ago.
Revius was, okay. I was thinking Revius was already pretty advanced in his roguery archaeology before he started the Arcane Citadel. But
yep, that's true.
No, but the 20-ish years ago is all it
Yeah.
is. 20 to 25 years ago is all I was looking for.
Old
Thank
enough that nothing in recent memory would have anything related to this. Well, it's kind of pointing that way, but you know what I mean.
Yep. So, as I'm sitting there looking at all these notes on the table amongst everybody, and I look at everybody and I say, This feels awfully familiar.
Very.
Think Revius knew that Thomas is the Bog Witch. And
I would
think-
guess that he did not stop looking into this kind of stuff when he was expelled.
Now, the
This
idea...
much-
Sorry, I was going to say the idea behind the expulsion, it'd be very hard for someone to continue their studies because there's not exactly a lot of necromancers around willing to teach ongoing studies like this. So by cutting him off, it kind of... The hope was he'd not be able to gain any more abilities. That being said, if he was gifted, there's no reason he couldn't have figured it out himself. Sorry, Jamie, I didn't mean to cut you off.
When we're
what was
looking
that?
through there, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was
Also
just going to ask,
polite.
when we're looking through all of the records, did he seem to be a gifted student? Did he seem like someone who, aside from these problems, was gifted at magic?
From what you're kind of seeing, it seems like they tried their best to dissuade him instead of outright getting rid of him because he had so much potential. There were complaints and fascination with necromancy go all the way through the 4 years he did attend the school. It is a 5-year, basically you go 5 years, your last year is specializing, and then you go out into the world. It's the equivalent of getting to level 2 wizard, basically.
Is there any background on where he came from before he
Yeah.
came to the Citadel?
I was going to ask the same question if there's any information on his
Great minds.
pre-college days.
It seems that his tuition was paid for by family, paid in full with gold pieces. He didn't pay very much. He received scholarships for his latent ability.
Does it have any information about where he lived? Where his family is from?
There's nothing there about that. It's all related to his schooling.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna, is Lycilium still down with us?
Lycilia's with us
Sure, we can
still?
say she's there, sure.
I just, so some of the stories we've heard about this Bog Witch person describe a very sort of stylized face mask that the person wears, almost sort of a long cylindrical, almost bird beak looking mask is the best way I can think of to describe it. Does that ring a bell with you, that somebody some kind of wannabe necromancer or anything like that? I mean, I'm just curious if there's anything that stirs in your mind, because it just, I mean, it's creepy, and maybe that was its entire point, but didn't know if there was something more to it than that maybe
Some kind of secret society or order or something that...
She thinks for a moment. And there is something about primitive necromancers did wear. They believed it kept them safe from any sort of spiritual interference by wearing masks such as that, but that was long debunked once we started understanding the magic more and more. But the history texts do speak of such things, yes.
So, Alteria, do you think that when you told Revius about what we were looking for, that he tried to find Thomas Brack to see if he, maybe he had, obviously he had suspicions, but, could he have confirmed them through his divination?
It's definitely possible. I think at the time, the last interaction I really had with Revius, where he seemed highly concerned, was the mention of Rocknarul and the fact that people weren't able to pass on. I did mention the Bog Witch at the time, but it didn't seem to be as much in the forefront of his mind. But it did sound it created some urgency, but not as much as the other issue that we are currently facing.
For reasons.
And then he just, horse ghost poofed away, and that was it. So, so I look at the group and I say, I'm wondering if he figured out what was going on, if he figured out what Thomas Brack was trying to do. I mean, it sounds like he has no regard for who he hurts or who he kills, if he's that obsessed with lichdom and necromancy and commanding an army of the dead. It sounds like whoever may have helped him said, you can do that all you want if you help me do this. And if he's studying bringing back things and souls that are ancient and long gone, that jives with the skull being gone.
Well,
So maybe he tried to stop Rebius because Rebius figured it out or figured out part of it.
Is there any reason that he might, you say he's obsessed with this research into lichdom? Is there any reason that that someone with those interests might feel like there is a connection with dragons, and that therefore having a dragon still might be valuable?
So Alteriel sits back kind of in her chair for a second. I say, the skull that was hanging in his office, we didn't know which dragon it belonged to. We had an idea. But if it's the dragon that we think it is, it could bring about the end of the world.
It's casual.
Not to put too fine a point on it. And the issue is, you have Thomas Brack, who sounds like is the Bog Witch, and so he's being given free reign to do these things at the bidding of somebody else, and the somebody else is also the reason we can't release the Avatar of Ragnar. So there's somebody else in between here who probably said, hey, do this and you can wreak havoc and destruction with this dragon. I don't know.
Or is it possible that the other person is interested in dragons and Thomas is trying to revive somebody else, or totally unrelated, but they're working together because they can help each other?
That's possible too. It's hard to say.
Could a sufficiently powerful necromancer raise a dragon from its long dead parts?
Would I know the answer to that question?
Lysilia kind of thinks and is like, with appropriate preparation, they couldn't resurrect it in the sense of your thinking, like a cleric could, but they could animate and then if there was a willing spirit, bind them to an animated sort of way of a golem, or the way someone might animate some other undead. Normally such things are mindless, but it's possible with the right spells a being could be bound to it.
And then the one other thing I was going to ask Lysilia is just, have you ever heard a name Aldar Max? We've heard that as another name that the Bog Witch is known by.
Really? Did I give you that name? That's amazing if I did.
Yeah, Akalish gave it to us.
That does sound familiar.
Ah, okay. Right, it's his name in yeah. I'm afraid I'm not familiar with this name. I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
You note takers write down everything.
We do. We surely do. It helps you too, so it's good.
Usually there's only one note taker in a group, and they're the ones that are like, by the way, you said this, and now I know who everyone is based on my notes I just reviewed. But there's like 3 of you.
You wouldn't believe how much I tried to do of rearranging the letters of Thomas Brack. Because you've got Orb in there, Chaos is in there. It was a fair bit of time that should have been done on productive client work.
It's funny. I talked to Jamie about this after I said Thomas Brack. I actually went and tried to. There's an anagram. There is an anagram generator. You punch it in, it'll decode. So I did that with both the Bog Witch and Thomas Brack, and nothing interesting. There's Cobb White. I thought about using the name Cobb White for something for Bog Witch, but anyway, that wasn't
so close.
Yes, that wasn't quite what I was going for, but I like knowing that you went for that.
So there wouldn't be anything in his file about Unor, so that sounds like something that's not something I would find down here, right? That would probably be in the library.
Like what sort of thing about Unor?
Like why specifically? Because what it sounds like at this point, if Revius couldn't see into Unor, and the Dean couldn't see Revius, it sounds like potentially there is something in Unor that's being protected, as if we need to go there. But ultimately, what I think Altariel would be looking for is any historical significance related to what they've been experiencing, what they've been fighting, and now like these events, and see if there's any connections there.
Yeah, so, that's kind of where I was going at with his history too, if that's where he was from.
Yeah.
For example.
Off the top of your heads, there's not an awful lot in Unor. There is the halfway in, or we can, I can zoom in and do stuff. So there's the halfway in. Raynor is on top of some of Unor. Oh, I can't do it in this map. Okay, here. Boop. So there's the halfway in that's there. There's Unam's Rest, which is kind of like a massive citadel, and kind of the seat of Unam, the god of justice's power. That's where his paladins are, a lot of his clergy, they do a lot of training there. There is this citadel, which is the seat of the chapter of Four Dragons, and then throughout the rest of it is basically like it's forest land. There's tribes that move around, and there's a few dwarven clans that are in some of the mountains, but there's not much else there. It's frozen wasteland basically.
So there's not really any reason that it would be normal for, like, say, Thomas Brack wouldn't be from Unor, because nobody's really from Unor.
Well, that's not true. There's dwarves from there, and people could come from Unam's Rest, but it's not like in Vina where you are now, where there's small towns every 10 miles kind of thing.
Right.
And everyone does pass through there about once a year when they're on their way to Grenshire, on the road to everywhere, but that's about it. Lots of travelers, and throughout the rest of the year, it's pretty quiet there.
Would Raynor's dwarven mentor have mentioned anything in their travels that, given that they were hunting basically the Bog Witch, mentioned anything in his travels that might connect that to Unor? I mean, I assume that Revius would not know that he can't see into Unor unless he was trying to see into Unor, so he must have had a reason.
He found a so I look at Raynor and I say he found a dragon knuckle bone there. Revius, in his time prior to and during his time as a professor, is also a bit of an archaeologist and found quite a few bones from dragons, but specifically one of the first things that he ever really talked with me about was a knuckle bone that he had found, and he was 99% sure that knuckle is from a dragon named Xanis Vertes.
Yeah, everyone knows that name if they have listened to any folklore or know any history of the world. For those of you who don't remember, Xanis Vertes is the guy who is the dragon who opened the portal that caused, the world to explode and everyone to die all those years ago. Yay.
So, my thought is if more bones of Xanis Vertes were found in Uinor, and someone was trying to bring about another end of the world, reanimate this long dead dragon, there's a lot that could go wrong, all of these things combined. But I'm starting to wonder if part of why Revius couldn't see when he was trying to find these things is because something is being protected there.
You said Revius was hot on the trail of more bones?
This was when I was first attending the Citadel.
Yeah. But is he still looking that you know of? I mean, is it possible that that's why part of why they took him was to help them find additional bones, if they need more bones to reanimate this thing?
It's possible. That would explain why they took him and the skull that was in his office.
Right.
It's not just, it's in his office for a reason, and he always said that he wasn't sure if it was from that dragon, but I'm starting now to think that it was. As Alteriel is talking to the group, she goes through the shelves and finds her file, puts it on the desk in front of everybody, and says, I was a bit of a troublemaker at school. The headmaster, the dean.
For shame.
The dean believes that elven wizards should sit behind a desk and not be out in the world, and I vocally disagreed with that on several occasions. And she sort of sits back down and lets whoever wants to read the file read what had happened in her past. If they wish.
Nope, that's
Not
yours.
important to me.
I'd rather focus on the future.
Yeah.
I'd rather go find Revius's file.
Great, very grateful.
Ooh. I mean, you're in the same area as Revius would be.
That's
I actually
not
think
a
it's
bad idea.
not a silly idea.
Yeah.
No, not a silly idea at all.
I mean, if you'd like to look for his file, you can roll an investigation check.
Why not?
You're in the right area, or the right era, so it were.
Ah, redemption.
Ooh.
Oh, the
Tell
spider.
me.
Without looking, Saint just reaches over to Raven just reaches over to a shelf.
Yeah, basically. You're like, maybe we should look for Revius's file. And then you're like, oh, here it is. It is not like Thomas Brack's. It is not a box, but it is a pretty thick ledger. Hold on. I need different music. We'll put this one on, because this one's... It's fun, but it's not dopey. So as you flip through, you can see he actually enrolled when he was older. They were actually hesitant to let him in and actually charged him full price, which he paid in platinum pieces, which was very odd. He showed tremendous skill at what he was doing, and they had plenty of problems with him. Specifically, the same mentions of the complaints from Thomas Brack are referenced here with Revius. Revius was a bit of a bully. He was disciplined for it quite a bit. He also had talent with divination, so he was able to foresee things, and was always able to... He was able to duck and avoid trouble, and being caught, so prolonged his capture. That coupled with his abilities as... I mean, he's a rogue, right? So he's... The history of Revius, this isn't in the file, but the history of Revius is he was a rogue, he was a dungeon delver, he was a treasure hunter, and then he found this orb the crystal ball on one of his things and found he could access it. And then he wanted to harness that more because this orb was helping him find treasure. So that was the original reason he went to the school, but he ended up staying. Yeah, so there's lots in there that, you know, has the talent but doesn't have the discipline. Very similar to what Alterial says, which could be why they're very similar. But yeah, it's generally he was an average student and he just happened to be very passionate and good with divination, so he ended up sticking around for a little bit.
So, awkward question. How well do you guys know Revius, and how sure are we that he's a fully on the up and up good person and isn't actually the one behind this and using the Bog Witch, who he bullied and hassled through school for his ends to find and reanimate a dragon that he's been searching for his whole life? Awkward question?
Alterial sort of nods at Nefler and understands the reason for the question. But and looks at Lycilia for a second and says it Revius is many things, but he knows what's good and what's bad to a degree. This is beyond something that he would choose to do willingly.
Okay.
He loves dragons and he loves the history of dragons, but he's not about to raise a dragon from the dead to end the world.
Okay. I hope no offense was taken at the question.
No, none at all.
It's
None at all.
a fair response.
I look at Nefler and I pat Nefler on the shoulder for a second. I say, we've been through some shit.
We've
So
seen
I
some
understand
shit.
why you're asking the question.
Thank you.
Lycilia adds, from what I understand, there's an awful lot of subterfuge for a man who has full access to everything. It's his museum, he's the curator. Why would he go through the trouble of whisking things away in the night with, did you say kobolds? Why go through all that trouble when he has the means to do it other ways?
What better way to do the perfect crime than to frame somebody else and get away with it?
Oh, Lycilia, you have not met us. Wheels within wheels, my friend.
Lycilia says, I feel that he'd do a better job covering his tracks than he did.
We're pretty smart.
Are we though?
She Lycilia kind of bobs her head back and forth. And you seem sufficient, yes.
He wouldn't have left Finnegan either. He loves that guy.
This is true. He wouldn't have left Finnegan behind.
Maybe the biggest point in the favor. Okay.
Listen, you know what? You've seen what happens when people kill familiars. They physically assault children.
I used one of my portent rolls last time to make sure that Finnegan didn't get hurt.
And that's a owl that he's had for what, a week?
Oh no!
It's not even dead.
So
it's not even a real owl.
So
It's my friend.
It's a spirit. It's a fey spirit bound that he's bound into the form of an owl.
Owlbear. See, this is why I need an owlbear. That stupid little kid never would have tried that with an owlbear. And think how much you could pick on nerds with an owlbear.
You were making it
Amazing.
fey poop on people.
Which is hilarious.
It's pretty good.
So
Fey feathers explode and then disappear.
So I look at the group and I say, okay, so what do we know? We are fairly sure at this point that Thomas Bragg is the Bog Witch. We are relatively sure that he took Revius and the skull and the orb. We think Uinor might be where they're going to try to resurrect this dragon. So we need to figure out how to fight him. If we're going to be fighting him in an army of probably undead, that may not be able to pass on. We need to know what to do.
Is there anyone we
Training
can talk to?
montage.
Sorry, what was that? What was that, Chiron?
Is there anyone we could talk to about that? Find out weakness, game plan?
I look
In a
at
room full of
Lycilia,
books?
and I look at him, and I look at Lycilia, and I look at him, and I sort of just go like this, and I say,
Hi.
she's the
Hi again.
professor of necromancy. She knows more about this than anybody. So
I would say your friend here probably knows more about the destruction of the animated than I do. And she'll nod towards Nefler.
She'll nod back and say, I'm not quite strong enough yet, but I feel like that's something that I should be able to do in the future with this sword. I've seen what it can do already, and I've seen what the this is a Rick issue. My brain is not thinking of the guy I got it from that died. I've seen what they can do to the undead.
Clerics of Rock and
I
Roll.
feel that's the word. So I feel that power somehow is imbued in this sword. I just need to learn how to harness it. I can't yet, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah, it's not anything that's going to help us in the here and now, but just in the collection of information about Thomas Brack. If he was getting caught out in cemeteries, you know, there may be some record of it.
That was it. Sorry, I thought you're done.
In some of the files of the city's civil justice. That is the sort of I'm reluctant to ask Effers to do it for some of the reasons we've been talking about, in that the Bog Witch seems to have a lot of tendrils everywhere, but I can at least ask for whether or not back at that time or since then there's been any record of sort of his interaction with the city, and perhaps would give us any information about who he was or where he came from. I mean,
Well, in Ontario, you said your friend that was in Revious's office is with the Misuse of Magic office, so potentially he would have or access to or the records of anything he had done post Citadel. Would that be something they would investigate?
If it was a misuse of magic, probably they would. I would think they would have record of it. They would have been around when that happened. So if
the notes do say it was the Inquisitors from the Church of Tace who apprehended him.
The other thing to consider, we don't know. The skull is obviously the most glaring thing that's gone because it's a giant skull hanging in his office. But what we don't know is if any other bones are gone. It's a museum. There's a lot of bones.
Is there a log of this information?
There would be record of what was cataloged in the museum proper, but some of these things may not be in that part of the museum. If he was researching them on his own or was concerned about what might happen to them, but it might be worth checking.
If only you had someone to ask, like an assistant curator or something.
Is there someone we can we talk
the
to?
Stiff.
Yeah,
Pencil Knight.
we met that guy.
The guy with the big ears.
Let's go meet
Eddard.
ears again.
Eddard Little, or Eddard Little with the stutter.
Eddard Little, good old Eddard. So we can talk to Eddard as well, and see what turns up or doesn't.
Yep. Let's do it. Is there anything else that's in here that's maybe we should be checking for?
This is a hall of records for all of the Citadel. I mean, you came here with permission to look up one thing. You've already looked up three things.
We are here. I thought this thing said give us that Altariel had access to anything she needed in the Hall of Records.
Anything needed for this investigation. This is true.
Haha.
Legal representation. I like it.
And we didn't take anything, so yet.
This is true.
Is the world flat?
No.
No.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I mean, is Ortiz flat? We don't know, but probably not. I created it. It's not. No.
Given that we're here with the head of one of the schools of the Arcane Citadel, probably sort of showing some degree of. It's hard for me to think that Scanlan would say this, but decorum, and kind of not continuing to root around in the files after we don't have specific things that we're saying makes.
I think
At least none of you are
for his restraint.
A little
At
bit
least-
of molecular respect.
At least none of you are fire wizards or something, looking like, oh, that's a lot of paper.
Yeah.
Burn it to
We're
the
not,
ground.
we're not fire wizards yet.
I'm basically a wizard.
So
I mean, Altariel can cast Firebolt. That's enough to cause
Do not
big-
burn.
a big problem.
not casting Firebolt in the Hall of Records for the Arcane Citadel. So
Yeah.
Roll initiative.
before I'm trying to think of what makes more sense because I do need to get a scroll or two for spells, but we probably should go to the museum first, maybe.
The one other thing, and sort of we can think about this a little bit as well, is the one other piece that I was going to ask Altariel, or Scanlan was going to ask Altariel, is if she has access to any of the records and they keep records of any kind of magical artifacts or things, is just remembering what Akalesh said about the Blades of Eternity can grow in power as they're used for their purpose. But nobody really knew what that was. If there's any record of that or any record of the Blades of Eternity,
wouldn't be
anything
here.
that could give us. Oh, okay.
This is like records of, they're like school records. You're looking for the library.
No. I understand it's
Okay.
right. I just meant at the Arcane Citadel generally. Yeah, no, it wouldn't be down in here. No, I'm
If
sort of
it's-
talking a little meta. If it's
Sure.
here if it's in the Citadel at all.
It would either be, if it's going to be anywhere, it'd be here or at Wiltonburg Abbey.
We can start with the
Or
library.
Ratapesh.
Confused about Wiltonburg Abbey.
I would
Well,
like
there
to
maybe
try
has
to
something
send
to
a
do with
message
the
to
blade,
them to begin with. So if we can
Yeah, you have to get
send
there.
a message to see if
Well,
they're still
well,
there.
Wiltonburg Abbey is a resource of knowledge. They just happen to brew,
right.
they happen to just brew on the side and have, drunken bar fights that teach people to be monks, basically. No, they have a whole arm of people who go out to find knowledge, basically.
I had forgotten that. I got focused all up on the beer,
It happens.
as one does.
That's
So,
what it is.
Yeah, that makes
things I've heard. You want to go check out the library. We want to send a sending to the Abbey to check if it's okay. We want to check out the magic shop. Anything else you guys are thinking you want to do?
Raynor would still like to track down his
Mentor?
former companion / mentor.
That could be a trick. Okay. That's gonna be for.
I mean, if he can't, he can't.
That's more for a future consideration. As for the rest of it, all doable. I'm gonna suggest we take a 5-minute break just to go relieve ourselves because I need to. So
Sounds
we will
good.
take a 5-minute break and we'll be right back. Don't cause any trouble, KB. That's not nice. So while we wait for everyone to get back, I figured I'd talk to you guys. Thanks for hanging out. It's good to have you here. Even if you're just lurking and doing stuff like being a guardian in the meantime, KB. Yes, KB, I know you're a troublemaker. That's what you do. I would never try and police you in any way, because I know it's futile. You missed it last week? They missed us. Oh, that's sweet. All right, looks like most people are back. I'm gonna switch back so they can see us. Apparently KB missed us last week.
No.
And I miss KB.
Aww. We still played, just, you know, not on here. Yeah, it was, I don't know, it was a rough week, and it was a lot of... Streaming is a whole other layer of stress that I didn't want to deal with. So, you know, we didn't. I can't see you, KB. She's saying look at her puppy dog eyes. I can't see you. Dan can fill in for you. Dan, can you do some puppy dog eyes?
Me? No. I mean, I can go get the dog and see if she will.
I just wanted to see if you would reduce yourself to doing puppy dog eyes into the camera or not. Apparently the answer is no.
I would not. I'm sure Saint is right now, though.
I can't imagine anything but permanent puppy dog eyes for Saint. Yeah. Saint and Dad Panther, you guys back? Alright, I guess we won't keep going then. So who do we have in the chat that I can call out? Helldam Fart is here. I haven't seen Helldam Fart in like a good while. Lejbet is hanging out. War Dog is here. KB. Bunch of names I don't recognize. You're probably bots, but if you're not, say hey, so I know you're not a bot.
I am not a robot.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. If you are, you're very convincing. I realize I'm looking at my camera, I've got water in my beard. Mostly what it's there for is to catch drippings.
Mm-hmm.
Is that weird?
Flavor saver.
Hey, SoCal's here. Hey, how's it going?
SoCal's definitely not a robot.
Speaking of, if you're not here, apparently on the way home from my in-laws' house today, my wife was driving with the kids, and my son randomly goes, "Are we real?" And like,
No, provocative.
like, you're 3.
Maybe.
And then he ended up asking, "Are animals real? Are the dogs real?" So I don't think it was as deep as we thought it was, but he's
Pretty heavy question to start with, though.
Yeah.
Are we real?
yeah.
What is life?
And earlier I'm just going into talking about my kids now. Earlier he was dancing, so I put on Black Sabbath for him and said he has to make his rocking face and, you know, throw up the devil horns. And so he went like, I went, "You gotta do this." So he went and played with his fingers for about 30 seconds until he got it. I'm like, "All right, now you do this." And he just started doing that. I have a recording, I'll post it somewhere. Yeah. It was War Dogs, so yeah. Anyway, Saint, you back? I heard a Ron. Do we have a Saint?
Yep.
Huzzah! Welcome back, everyone. The timing on that was way too eerie. So yeah, where to first? You're underneath the Arcane Citadel underground in a big hall of records. You've talked about going back to the museum. You've also talked about going to a magic shop to pick up a scroll. You want us to do ascending, so you gotta find someone to do ascending for you, Nefgler.
Mm-hmm.
And go to
So-
the library.
You wanna go to the library too? Okay.
Did somebody want armor?
I think Scanlan wanted to go to the library, right? To look up the Blades of Eternity.
If they had that information here.
Yeah. So what do you want? That's like 4 or 5 things. I know there's 4 or 5 of you, but I'd rather keep you mostly together.
I am fine to do those in whatever order. I think that going back to the museum is probably like the last thing we should do. In the order of like events. So I'm good to start with whatever everybody else wants to start with.
I mean, it does seem like all of these are, the other things are on the order of sort of chores and things that we want to take care of before we hit the main event, which the museum is likely to be the path to. So, I mean, I don't know the exact layout of the Arcane Citadel in the surrounding area, but I would just do it based on whatever is the shortest walk from here to the first of those places.
Sure. So Lycilia wishes you good luck unless someone's going to ask her about sending, in which case she'll tell you she doesn't have that prepared today and she apologizes. You can ask Roz and see if she can help you. But she says her goodbyes. She actually stops off at the necromantic containment area, which sounds very sci-fi, but she slips in quickly to make sure that Nefgler can't peek in after her. And you hear the door lock behind her.
Raynor actually does have a question for Roz. I don't know if it would be in her wheelhouse.
Well, you can ask on the way by. So you make your way back upstairs to the main lobby, and Roz is where you saw her before, just all the different quills writing, sitting on her cushions, concentrating on what's in front of her. If you look, if you look over, you catch a glimpse that she's actually got a steamy romance parchment tucked in with them, with most of the other books, and when she notices you looking, she snaps the book shut quickly. What can I do for you, hon?
Roz, I was wondering, is there any way to find out where a student's family might have come from before they enrolled at the school?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends. Who are you looking for? I mean, the current students, it's real easy. You ask him. If you're talking about Thomas Brack, because that's what he went down for, right?
Yeah.
That was a long time ago, kid. I don't know.
Where might be the best place to look for that?
You know where Thomas Brack is? You could always ask him where he's from. Or one of his classmates? You know any classmates?
Well, so far we know one classmate, and I don't think we're finding him anytime soon.
That's too bad. Yeah, I'm not real sure where you can find them. I mean, you can ask the Inquisitors, but they're pretty tight-lipped about this kind of stuff. Privacy laws. Ugh.
Yeah, weird, huh?
They'll make you accept cookies before you even come into the place anymore.
It's a lot of cookies.
All right, well, thank you for the help anyway.
So,
Sorry I couldn't help you more.
Oh, that's all right.
Dear Lord, will you guys feed your dragonborn?
I'm just saying. I know you all heard her. She said cookies this time, correct?
Wrong kind of cookie. Can you give him a pass to the cafeteria so he can get some food?
Oh, grant me such wishes. If you grant me such wishes, I will lick your face.
Is that a
All of the quills
Took a
stop
turn for the
writing,
weird.
and all the 3 or 4 quills stop writing, and they all point at you like they're about to fly at you instead. You're rolling a charisma check about licking her face. I don't care how high you roll on your charisma check.
That's not in the book.
Listen, hon, you're not my type. You got scales, and I like them less focused on food. You know what I'm saying?
What if you were a meal?
Acrobatics? Are you showing off your flexibility now?
She looks like a snack.
Listen, hun, you need to back off before I turn you into a frog that no one's going to be able to kiss you and return you back to your old form, okay?
Upgraded the... Okay. I'll back off. Ribbit.
Nefgler looks at Alterio. You were right. She is cool.
She's awesome. So cool.
Anyone else got anything, or can I get back to my work? Not my reading, my work.
Nefgler, you wanted to try to send a message to the Abbey, right?
I would love to be able to check in, and I can see if they have any information on the Blades of Eternity for Scanlan while we're doing it.
Is the post office not working? You can't send a raven?
Roz, I have never been here before.
What do you mean? You've never been to Torma before?
Is there any way faster than a raven?
Are you talking about you know, a little of this? And then she does that little sparkles drip from her fingers.
Yes.
Okay. What's the name and what do you want to say?
So the name is Charmaine Gray.
Charmaine Gray. You got 25
Charmaine
words.
Charmaine.
Honey, here. She puts a parchment and quill down. I mean, you can figure it out, but yeah, she's not like, it's more write it down and I'll repeat the message instead of telling me live. She's just giving you shit.
I'm sorry, you want me to?
You don't actually have to write it. Just go. What do you want the message to be?
Charmaine, Aspirant Nefler, checking in, making sure all well. Please acknowledge. Also, send any and all information on Blades of Eternity. Be well.
Okay, she reads it and you watch and she kind of murmurs under her breath and her eyes kind of, she's locked in the distance. Just, okay, it's sent, I'll let you know. Sorry. All right, I'll let him know. I feel like I gotta do this when I'm doing Ross. Except I can't see fucking anything when I do this. And she says, she kind of pauses and gets that distant look again. They say they're happy to hear from you, Nefler. Hope all is well. Things are fine there. Come by and try the new beers sometime. I don't know what that means.
She has one left in her pouch and she'll pull it out and give it to her and say, here's our new brew. Try it.
It lifts up and floats towards her and she looks at it and says, not what I usually go for, but for you, hon, I'll try it. What are you doing hanging out with these like this guy? And she gestures at Scanlan and then thinks better of it and goes, never mind, it's that one you gotta worry about, and gestures to Chiron.
How you doing?
And Nefler is visibly relieved at hearing from Char and that everything is okay, and looks to Scanlan and says, she's the best child of knowledge we've had in many years. If there's any information in the archives, she'll find it. She's the one that we met at with Akalash. I don't know. Yeah, we chatted with her briefly. So as long as she's not in the hall with Valsaheth, she'll find it.
Great, thank you.
All right. Next stop, Magic Shop?
Magic shop.
I feel like it's almost like you're going to the souvenir shop.
Do I see that kid Chauncey as we're walking across the?
No, he's not there. Have you? Is it an hour? You have to spend an hour to resummon, don't you?
I do.
That's too bad. Maggot cheese has arrived. It's not something I ever thought I'd be excited to say. It never is. Oh, that's my train of thought, 'cause I'm thinking about maggot cheese. Yeah, so outside of the main building, there's a separate entrance into what's essentially the magic shop. And what it is it's a whole bunch, the apprentices, part of their work is creating magic items and creating items that are infused with magic. And when you walk in, there's like a whole wall of parchment just stuck into different cubby holes. And I'll tell you, you know that's where all the spell scrolls are. In addition, if you look around, there are labels for quite a few things. I'll get you a list, or I'll read out the list and watch you furiously scribble. You see there are many small packages of dust, labeled dust of sneezing and choking. There are a few pairs of goggles hanging on a peg, labeled goggles of night. And they're labeled at 1,500 gold pieces. There is a rope of climbing, 2,000 gold pieces. There's eyes of minute seeing, which are basically, it's almost like opera glasses, looking things. They're 2,500 gold pieces. I'll post this list. You don't have to write them all there. I'll post it to you guys. There's a sign for bags of holding. Ask for service. There's reasons they don't keep all the bags of holding together. There's also a few pairs of shoes labeled boots of striding and springing. 5,000 gold pieces. A broom of flying. 8,000 gold pieces, if you guys want to play Quidditch, which isn't a thing here, so don't ask to play Quidditch. And finally, there is a beautiful robe. Let me just grab the official description here. It's on a mannequin, and basically it's got cloth patches all over it. Various shapes and covers, but the base robe looks like it's very well put together. And it's called a robe of useful items. And it has a price tag of 45,000 gold pieces. As a reminder, for wealth in this
More
world,
than we have.
wealth in this world, the average year's wage for a peasant, average person working the fields is like 500 gold pieces they earn for their entire family for the year. In the city, you're looking at anywhere from 500 to a few thousand a year, depending on your job. So yeah, it's definitely, yeah. Those of you who are attuned to the magic world, as soon as you walk in, not only are you overwhelmed a little bit with the amount of magic, it's a wrong song, but that's fine. The amount of magic that's emanating from everything here, but the hair on the back of your neck stands up as you walk through the door. You're not sure why, but it's just like all the hair just kind of...
Okay.
And I'll paste that information to you guys so you don't have to frantically write it all down. Also, first level spells scrolls are 120 gold pieces. Second level spell scrolls are 400 gold pieces. But you have a third level spell, don't you? If you want sending.
Yeah.
It is 800 gold pieces. Or if you want to buy it outright, or you could maybe see if someone can make it for you.
Well, okay. I wouldn't know anybody that could make it for me, would I?
Any wizard who can cast it could make you a scroll.
Should have asked
Chauncey.
before. Yeah.
Chauncey definitely can. Well, I mean, that would mean Chauncey's the equivalent of a 5th level wizard.
Should have probably asked Lycilia before she walked away. To ask.
Probably should ask Roz.
Yep.
True.
Also true.
Should ask Roz.
Should just have one of those quills.
Can you spare a quill for a few minutes to write out a spell for me?
Okay, so that's a lot of gold for a spell scroll. Can I run back down to Lycilia to ask if she'll do this for me? Or do we not have time for that?
The rest of the group's prerogative. I don't care what you do. I mean, that's not true. I do, but
I was gonna say, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, we have the gold, but on the other hand, if we don't have to spend it, then, you know,
Yeah.
to take 10 minutes to
Scanlan-
run back and forth is worth it.
Scanlan's like
Right.
one spell. When I could get a goggle of night? What do you mean?
Yeah. So I hand the gold to Scanlan and I say, don't spend too much. And I run.
Well, that's a bad.
I'm gonna run back to Lycilia and see if she'll write this down for me so that I can add it to our repertoire because I feel like we're gonna need it, but 800 is a lot to spend on a spell scroll. So,
Well, and yeah.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just starting to think before you were done talking, which wasn't okay. So please finish your thought.
Oh no, I was going to run out of the room and go run back down to where Lycilia is.
Yeah. So she hands you a pack with,
Yeah.
what is it, like 2,200, 2,300 gold pieces?
It's 2016 gold pieces.
2016.
Trying to keep track.
Yeah, I mean, so I think I could see lots of places in time where having the goggles of the night, because Scanlan's human, he doesn't have dark vision. Lots of places where it would be useful for him to be able to move in darkness more easily. But
Like
that seems
cobalt
like
tunnels.
Sorry, say again?
Yeah,
So you mean like in cobalt tunnels?
Yes.
but that seems like an awful lot of the group's resources to spend on that one thing that only one person can use. So I kind of would defer to the rest of the group because that's not just all Scanlan's money.
Well,
You
I
could also
suppose the
afford.
other
You could also.
option is if we can get it a little cheaper than 1,500, if we barter a little bit with them, or we're on official Citadel business.
We
Osmir
could
sent
also-
us here. He said to, give us a couple
Ha-
of scrolls.
What's the staffing look like at the magic shop?
We're checking for shoplifting.
There is. Altair runs back. Oh God! Don't do it.
No, she runs back and says, "Don't steal. The place is enchanted. Don't steal." And just runs back out.
Yeah, what she said.
Oh,
I will do my best innocent face again. Wouldn't have crossed my mind.
There is a bored-looking student behind the desk.
But I guess when told that those of us attuned to any kind of magic use just feel magic coming from everywhere.
Well, you feel it everywhere, but also everything's in here is enchanted. Like the scroll, the wall of scrolls is all magical because it's all spells written on scrolls. There's bags of holding around. There's ropes of climbing. There's goggles of the night. There's a robe of useful items sitting there. There's lots and lots of magic here. But yeah, you definitely got a tingle when you walked through the door without even looking for it. Doesn't mean you can't get over it.
No, I understand.
You've got Mage Hand.
Mm-hmm. No, and which I'm going to cast and do nothing and just see what happens when I just cast it and don't do anything else.
Like taking a gun out at a gun store?
Well,
Well,
he's casting Mage Hand. It creates an invisible hand. It can be used for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, as a trickster, my mage hand is invisible. So, but I just want to see whether that gets a reaction.
Yeah, so to do it, you need to... Actually, I don't know what the components for Mage Hand are. Let's take a look. Mage Hand... Is it vocal? Is it somatic?
Verbal and somatic.
Yeah.
It's verbal and somatic.
So you'd have to make a gesture and say something. So as soon as you do, you can feel your Mage Hand hovering there. And the student behind doesn't look up from their book and says, "No magic in the store."
Chiron looks. See? Told you.
You didn't tell me anything. What do you know? I dispel it.
What do you know? Yeah,
So I
mean,
dispel it.
You
Yeah,
get the feeling that you could probably take this kid behind the desk, but looks like a bored teenager at the mall kind of deal.
Yeah, and even Scanlan's not just gonna like kill some kid over money.
Maybe wedgie them.
Oh, I mean, I could wedgie him all to hell, but that would just be for fun, not for money.
He has morals.
Yeah, no, I mean, so at the end of the day, coming back to it, I mean, for me, so actually, Chiron, you're like all performery and everything. You think you could convince this kid to? You think you could convince this kid to let us have this for less than 1,500 gold pieces?
I'll give it a try.
And I guess actually, but before he does that to the group, do we think it's worth a significant investment to? I think it would be helpful, but I'm also very aware that I think it'd be helpful because it would let the guy I'm playing do some more cool stuff, which doesn't necessarily is not without some amount of self-interest. So I don't want to spend all the group this much of the group's money without other people agreeing that it could be helpful.
I think the sending spell is more important. I think if we can get both, that's worth trying to do some type of buy one get one free or buy one get half off or something like that. Or if Alterio has an alumni card discount or something like that.
Remember, though,
but-
I ran off to go try to
Yeah.
see if Lysilia would do this for me, so I'm fine with whatever you guys want to do.
Did Jamie get quiet for all you guys or just me?
I might have just not. I turned my mic down.
Oh, there you're back.
Is that better?
That's better.
And we also want to still have potentially a little bit left to maybe buy some armor for, I can't remember if it was Chiron or Raynar who was looking for some studded leather.
Yeah, studded leather is cheap though.
And
Raynor would not be averse. I think Raynor has studded leather, but I think he would not be averse to something a little
or
bit
some type of,
heftier.
yeah.
Studded leather's 45
And-
gold pieces.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
Well,
We're not
then,
talking
all
like-
right, then.
not-
I got it wrong.
So 1,500 gold pieces is the equivalent of getting full plate mail.
Okay.
I'm trying to dissuade you. I
Yeah.
know in the past someone has expressed interest in being able to see in the dark, so I thought I would give the opportunity to explore said option.
No, I appreciate that, and
You can always
I
come
just
back
wanna-
later.
Yep. And that is fine. It's not come up that much yet, and I think that's an enormous amount of the resources we have for something that would be more situational.
If we can
Makes sense.
buy it on an installment plan.
Citadel credit.
Yeah.
Right. Rent to own.
Maybe if you were maybe
If
if
I
you were
were
a
to
student
do a
here.
commercial for the Citadel and said that this was my favorite shop in the Citadel, what kind of a discount would I get?
So are you going to try and talk down the price here, or what's the deal?
If I'd rather see Raynor in full plate, and I think that would do us more good over time.
As
So-
entertaining as that would be, Raynor in full plate wouldn't do him a whole lot of good because it would crimp his dexterity.
Yep, you'd have disadvantage
Oh,
on
does it?
stealth and all that stuff.
But, well, I mean, also limits his dexterity bonus to armor class, doesn't it?
I don't normally acknowledge chat. However, not that I don't acknowledge chat, but not in the middle of the game. We're getting a raid from the Crowned DM. Just raided and hosted the stream. So the Crowned DM, thanks for coming by. Thanks for trusting me with your community.
Hey yo.
You tried to shout out, but you're not a mod.
Not a mod.
Womp womp.
So welcome viewers. Hopefully you're enjoying some Dungeons and Dragons tonight, and you're gonna enjoy some more Dungeons and Dragons tonight. Happy to have you here. We're in the middle of intense negotiations on do we spend the party gold fund on Knight's Goggles of Night for the rogue. Looks like maybe no.
And I think the answer is no right now. But we know
There's always-
they make them here.
You know where to get them. Thank you, Crown DM. I appreciate it. So yeah, what do you guys? You're going to give up on this for now?
I think we should wait for Altario to be back from talking to Lysilla. I agree that having the sending spell, no matter how we're going to get it, whether it's buying it here or having it otherwise, is important. And then, thinking about what we need to do to make sure the other people, anybody else, is more durable in combat probably makes more sense.
Makes sense.
I agree.
So,
Cool.
so we'll shift a little bit to Alterio's. Alterio's run off, left you guys in the shop, told you don't steal anything, and you've had your discussion. And so she's running back to the main building so she can go down and see if she can find Lysilia, the head professor of necromancy. And so you make it down there, and I'm assuming you're going back to where you left her in that necromantic containment area.
Yeah, that would be the first place I'd check, and then move back to probably her classroom or her office.
Sure. So it's locked. So are you planning on knocking, calling out? What is your plan here?
Knocking first, and then if she doesn't respond, probably yelling and saying, "Hey, I need your help with one more thing."
put on some creepier music since, you know, you're checking out the necromancy area of the school. Yeah, there's a knock, and you don't really hear anything right at first. And how long are you waiting?
I'm giving it maybe like a couple of seconds, maybe like 5 seconds before I yell out to Lysilia and say, I need, if you're in there still, I need your help with one more thing. The door's locked though. I need to talk to you.
There's, again, how long are you willing to wait before you get an answer?
I mean, like, I don't know, like a minute, maybe.
Okay. After what seems like forever, you hear the door unlock, and Lysilia opens it and she smiles. Alteriel, good to see you. How can I help?
Why do you look nervous?
I was just in the middle of an experiment, and whenever you're handling the undead, you must be careful.
Okay. I need your help. I need to know sending. I don't have it, and I need it.
You don't know the sending spell? What do? Send ravens?
I already heard enough crap from Revius, please. I need your help with this last thing, please, for now.
She's got long, basically rubber gloves up her arm, and she's wearing an apron. And she pulls the rubber gloves off in the apron, tosses it aside, and slips out the door. She's been keeping it shut. She kind of like opened it a little bit, just enough to poke her head out. She takes that off and tosses it aside, and then slips out and closes the door. And then as she does, she waves her hand, and you hear it click shut on the inside. I don't have it prepared, but I could probably write you the scroll. Have you checked with Roz?
I wanted to ask you first. If you can write me the scroll, that's enough. That's fine.
You'll have to come back tomorrow. I need to gather the supplies and get it ready, but I'll have it for you tomorrow if you'd like.
Okay. That's fine. What are you doing in there?
The music stopped. One moment. Playing the totally not sus music again.
Not sus music.
This is totally not sus music. She quirks ahead at you and says, I told you I was doing an experiment with the undead.
What kind of experiment?
I didn't know you were so interested in necromancy.
I've had some unique experiences over the last several days with undead, and they've been less than pleasant. And I'm not meaning
they can be that way.
I'm not meaning to come across as suspicious of you, but I'd really like to understand what you're doing.
She shrugs and waves her hand again, unlocks it, and opens the door for you.
Okay.
Inside, I don't know if you've ever actually been in here since you didn't study necromancy when you attended this school. When you walk in, you can see there's actually 3 or 4 cages, and inside each of them, there's a zombie. She closes the door. Did you go in, or do you just wait in the hallway?
Yeah, no, I go in with her, yeah.
Yeah, she shuts the door behind you, and you hear the lock click. And, give me a perception check.
Not great.
That's okay. You notice that there's a smell. You can't quite place it, but it's familiar to you. You've smelled it before. And it could just be, you haven't been around a lot of dead things in your life. It's possible you're just smelling the undead that are in this room. The ones that are here look fairly, they're in cages, but they're under her control. It's not like they're reaching at the cage and reaching an arm out with brains or anything. They're just kind of staring and looking at you. There's a slab, and on the slab there is a zombie that's been opened. Basically, it looks like she was performing an autopsy. The undead is still, its head is still moving around, even though it's been peeled open and you can see inside of it. She gestures. How is Alterial reacting to this body being open?
So Alterial is looking at it and having been around a lot of dead bodies recently, is not super phased by it, but is a little bit more just curious as to what she's trying to accomplish with this experiment, and is trying to, and part of the look on her face is a concentration to try to figure out what the smell is that she's smelling. But mostly she's just, she looks at Lycilia and says, so what experiment were you performing here?
I'm trying to see about reanimating partial bodies. Normally we reanimate into a zombie or a skeleton, as it were, depending on what flesh is available. I'm looking to see what sort of, if we could take the skeleton and rebind flesh to it.
Why are you looking at that?
You do know I am the head of the School of Necromancy, yes?
Yes. But this seems like a very sudden experiment. Is this based on the conversation we were having earlier in the Hall of Records?
Not at all. We ended my class and I came down here, ended the class early to speak with you and the Dean. We searched the Hall of Records and I needed to carry on with my work. Why?
Can I... It just feels very, this feels very suspicious. And this is obviously very, status quo for our group. But it just seems very suspicious that all of a sudden she's researching the exact same thing that we're trying to prevent someone else from potentially doing. So can I check to see if she's, hiding something?
Sure, roll an insight check.
Where? Uh-oh. Okay.
You can tell something's off, but you can't tell what. You can't tell if it's because it's necromancy and you're just inherently been dealing with a lot of necromancy lately and that's throwing you off, or if she's actually hiding something.
Okay. Sort of, I look at her and it's more of like a kind of a softer, knowing look. You can tell me. You seem very nervous about this.
Do I? It's not something I do normally. It's not what I enjoy doing the most. And I imagine if your friend was here, she wouldn't be terribly pleased with me.
Fair enough. Again, though, it's just a little too coincidental. And a little concerning. You understand?
I can see why you'd think that. I understand. I don't know what I can do to convince you. We've known each other a while.
What? We have.
Have I ever given you pause to think such things of me?
No. No, you haven't. Forgive me. But my group and I are just a little overly cautious at the moment. What prompted you to want to do this particular experiment?
There's a long list of things that are slated for research with the School of Necromancy. I'm sure you're familiar with the same thing with divination. There's no one else that can proceed in this field, and I understand your concern. Necromancy can be very difficult to embrace, but knowing helps us. Knowing is understanding. Knowing. I'm trying to think of a good way to phrase it. My words are escaping me.
I know what you're talking about. I think I'm picking up what you're.
Knowing is half the battle. The other half is flesh and bone. It's to understand. To do is to understand, and to understand is to teach, and to teach is to prevent.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Saint in the chat. Walks up to the head faculty of necromancy at a renowned school of magic. You're being pretty sus.
Thank you. It just feels awfully coincidental. So she looks at Lycilia one more time and just sort of nods and says, "Okay. Well, thank you for the help with the sending spell. I appreciate it. I'll come back in the morning and get that.
Of course.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No. You're being very strange, Altario.
It's been a long day.
I understand. And she'll help usher you to the door and let you out, and the door shuts and you hear the click behind you as the door locks again.
So Altario just kind of does one of these because she has no reason not to trust Lysilia, but the smell that she can't put together combined with the experiment that she was doing just feel really not like it's a terribly bad coincidence of what they're experiencing right now and what's happening. So she's just, it could very well just be genuinely that she's trying to figure out how to do this so that she can help us stop it later, or there's something else going on. But either way, she doesn't know. Her head is swimming, so she just makes her way back up to the group and lets them know that. Doesn't mention necessarily like the full details of the experiment right away, but it explains that she can come back in the morning for the sending spell, and that way that we don't have to spend the money on it, at least not the 800 gold pieces.
Should we just spend the 800 gold pieces and not have to come back to Lysilia after she's been acting all sus and has overnight to prepare to do whatever it is she wants to do?
You guys are just so suspicious of everything. I can't introduce an NPC. I don't think there's a single NPC. You know what, Roz? You haven't questioned Roz, so that's fair.
Yeah. So no.
For all you know, Roz is the bog witch.
She's not the bog witch. I look at Scanlan.
She's not tall enough.
50 Shades of Roz.
Roz is reading some pretty
Yeah,
questionable literature.
50 Shades of Roz.
Don't
That's what I'm reading.
No kink shaming the gnome. Come on. The things she can do with her mage hand.
I'd
So
like to hear the story of that.
like, I look at Scanlan and go, look, I've known Lysilia for a long time. I think we're all a little on edge, given what's been experienced. Me more so probably than others. I have no reason to believe she's going to do anything that's going to hurt us. I don't mind coming back in the morning to get the spell. I think we could all use some rest, and then after we get that, we can head to the museum and see, or we can go to the museum now, or we can wait until the morning and see, as far as the bones are concerned, what's left there.
Yeah, it's probably only what, noon, 1, something like that. If it was
Like that.
10 when we got there.
Yeah, probably like mid-afternoon.
So
I would say go to the museum.
yeah,
Oh yeah, we can go to the museum.
Would
check
love
out
to
the
go to the museum.
bones.
We can use our special brand of questioning on Eddard Little.
We can.
Can you
Hey,
please don't cut off his
figure.
fingers? Like,
I make no promises.
you guys and cutting off fingers. My goodness. All right. So you're going to head to the Museum of Dracothropology.
Yes.
Okay.
Did we want to? Sorry, before we go.
Yeah.
Did we want to try to barter for the goggles? Altario, do you get a alumni discount or anything at the shop, or
Oh no. Oh, no.
they charge you more?
They probably would charge me more, but no, there's no discount, unfortunately. I wish.
And I'll go up to the kid at the desk and say, "Hey, you know Chauncey,
No, I don't. Sorry.
young kid, kind of smallish, a little bookish. Anyway, if you see him around, be nice to him."
Okay, you know we're at a wizarding school, right? You just described like half the students.
Yeah, but this kid is kind of especially bookish and nerdish and a little tiny. Anyway, just if you come across a Chauncey, be nice to him. And she'll walk out.
The kid watches you like very confused and goes back to their reading that they were doing and goes back to not really paying attention to the store, but paying attention enough. I see some yawns coming from Altario. Do you guys want to pick this up another day, or do you want to keep going?
It was one.
I'm good for keeping on going.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Just want to make sure.
No, I appreciate it.
I can't see two of our players to see if they're yawning, so
And we yawn over here. We're
maybe they'll get webcams for Christmas.
I won't get on.
So you're going to now make your way to the Museum of Dracothropology to check in with the assistant curator Eddard Little. Is that correct? Excellent. What music do I want for this one? I'll play this one because it seems right for you guys.
So we did such a good impression on him last time.
So you take your leave of the Arcane Citadel, leaving behind all of the wizard kids, and through the city. It's around noon. People are bustling. It's a busy city. It is the capital. It's the biggest city on the continent, yeah, it's just generally hustle and bustle and city sounds. You make your way over, and as you notice as you move into, can't remember the name of the neighborhood off the top of my head. I should, since I just wrote it. I think it's the Golden Lamp District.
It is.
Hey, I remember something. As you make your way to the Golden Lamp District, which is basically a bunch of statues, gardens, and other kind of places. I believe there's a Church of Gore there as well, is there not? As well as the museum. But as you make your way and you notice that the hustle and bustle dies down a little bit. And when you get to the museum, you actually see that the doors are locked and there's the closed sign is flipped up for you.
I look at and see the fact that it's just mid-afternoon and see the fact that the museum is closed. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Can I see anybody, like, if I look through the glass of the door, can I see anybody immediately on the other side, or?
It looks pretty quiet.
Quiet. Okay. Would knocking on the door achieve anything?
It would achieve a knock.
Well, I didn't know if maybe someone might hear it.
You don't know. You don't see anyone, but it's possible.
Okay. Then yeah, I bang
As-
the door.
As Altariel's putting the hand up, Scanlan just puts a hand in between and says, "You know, we know there's a way in through the underground. Like the way we chase the kobolds out. Like I know how to get back in there within the city. We don't have to go all the way back out of the city. I mean, just
True. Very true.
just thinking, do we want to announce our presence here? I mean, I don't know, maybe we do, but just there's options on how to get into this place.
There's also the window you guys know of. Although you're not sure if it's been locked since, the
I fell through
incident.
it.
Yeah.
So I turn to Scanlan and go, yeah, we can go through using the alternate pathway. It's fine. Seems weird that the door is locked this early in the day anyway.
So you want to? What's your plan, Scanlan?
So plan will be to go to, presumably there's a number of ways to get into and from at least when we talked, I think there's a number of ways to access these areas.
There is.
As quiet as things are in the Golden Lamp District right now, I'm going to look for a sort of what is the kind of quietest, most out of the way place to go to get into there and access the tunnels and see if we can get down there and get back over to where we chased the kobolds last night.
So the place that is the safest and easiest for you would be through the Warren. Because the pub, for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about when I say the Warren. So that'd be the easiest way to go because it's there, that you'd have a cover. Otherwise, you definitely know of a few places in Golden Lamp District. There's a few that are a little public for midday, and there's a few that are out of the way. So it's totally your call what you want to do.
How far away is the Warren from here?
A good while. You'd be underground for a while. You'd probably be underground walking for if you're rushing, the way it kind of meanders around, like half an hour.
So, all right, so trans group. So we can sort of super safely get into the underground from the Warren, but, getting there, then getting back here, we're talking an hour and a half probably. There's also some places within the Golden Lamp District that are pretty out of the way that we probably can, we can at least go check them out if we don't want to wait that long. I mean, of course, we can also just knock if we knocking's not out of the question, but I'm wondering if this just seems really odd given everything that's happening.
Do you want
I don't know.
to check
It seems
your
pretty
window,
normal to
Ontario?
me that the museum would be closed after there was an attack in the office and a kobold battle in the basement.
What was that, Nefka?
Do you want to check your window and see if we can get in that way
Yeah,
still?
I can check my window. Sure.
Sorry, and Rainer, you're just saying it's not that weird. They don't necessarily know about the kobold battle because no one went and told them.
At the museum?
Yeah. Like you guys
Yeah,
snuck
we
to the
snuck in
basement.
after you locked it.
You snuck to the basement without actually
Telling anybody we were going down
telling
there.
anyone, and then you fought kobolds in like.
And fired a gun repeatedly. So.
That is true. You did fire a gun.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also pretty sure you saw the assistant curator leave before you snuck back in, or was that later? I
That's
can't remember.
true, yeah. No, we did.
You and your
Yeah.
We saw him
boomstick.
leave and the guards locked up when
Yeah,
the rest of us went in to meet up with
that's
them.
when.
So
I thought
We-
maybe, just for a change of pace, we could question somebody without just popping out of the ceiling in front of them.
there's no fun in that.
So
So,
you don't want to surprise them. I don't want you guys to cut any more fingers off. Nefler wants more fingers on her necklace.
So Altariel is kind of weigh the options, and at least the worst that can happen is if she knocks is nobody answers and we try the window, and if the window doesn't work, then we try one of the closer entrances into the museum.
It's fair.
So
Knock, knock.
she knocks very loudly at the door.
Loud bangs ring out. A helpful person walking by goes, "Hey, I think it's closed." And keeps walking.
Oh shit! Thanks, man.
You know how pedestrians be.
Mhm.
No matter how long you wait, no one shows up. Unless you're gonna
Okay.
wait till like
Can
the
we-
next day.
No,
Okay.
to the window, to the
To the wall?
To the wall.
We don't hear any movement or anything inside.
They'll sweat.
Nothing.
Till sweat
No,
run.
skeet. No.
No, no skeet, motherfucker.
Okay, just
Yeah, there's nothing,
Goddamn.
not much going on in there.
Okay, so Altariel will check the window entrance that she would normally use.
Yeah, so you move around to the side and scale your tree up to the wall, and when you try the window, it is locked.
Can I try to mage hand unlock it from there?
I feel that kind of circumvents the knock spell, but yeah, sure. It's not like it's a key lock, it's just like flipping a latch.
Okay.
There's also a guy around who might have thieves' tools.
This is true. Yeah, you mage hand and just flick and then you open the lock.
Okay. So I'm gonna hop. I look at the group and as I'm unlocking the window and gonna go try to jump in a little bit more gracefully this time. I look at the group and say, "I'll open a side door, so you guys don't have to jump through the window, like I did."
Sure.
Jump's a
So-
strong word.
You slink through the hallways. It's very quiet. You don't really notice anything, and open a side door, and you guys can all pitter patter in.
Awesome.
Why are you sneaking in?
We're
We
not
can't do anything normally.
because I
Oh.
can't open the door because the door's not open and it's weird that
Oh,
there's
yeah,
nobody in the
see.
okay.
he said it perfectly.
Because we can't do
We
anything
can't do
normally.
anything normally.
Because we can't do anything
Because we
normally. I
can't
think it's
do
the better
anything
answer. It's the more accurate answer.
Anything normally.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, what are you hoping to do in here? You were gonna try and
Well,
talk to
so-
someone, but it's closed.
Well, so I'm gonna I want to check the assistant curator's office, just to see if maybe he's here, but the museum is locked with him in it for some reason.
Okay.
And then look to see if I can find record. I feel like I have a decent knowledge from like previous history with the museum, so trying to find like a ledger or a list of dragon bones and see how many of them are there compared to the list.
Oh, you're gonna be there a while. Okay. Yeah, so you know where the assistant curator's office is, and if you go in, you will find it is immaculate. There's no papers out of place. There are shelves and shelves and shelves of papers and ledgers, and but everything is perfectly arranged. It almost looks like a model home, for lack of a fantasy equivalent. No sign of the assistant curator though. If you are to look, you're not under any pressure, so you can find the logbooks of every single specimen they have. It's a pretty thick.
Specifically the dragon stuff that's cataloged as a dragon bone.
Sure. Yep, there's thousands of entries.
Okay.
Can we look in the office to see if we can find any notes or anything from the assistant curator noting anything missing or any description of the events of last night? Has he done any kind of write-up or anything of that?
Roll an investigation check. See what you find.
I will guidance him.
Ooh la la, using the guidance cantrip. Pulling all the stops. Roll a 1d4 on top whatever you roll. Saint is also
All right,
rolling.
so
You can add 1d4, Scanlan.
I also rolled. Excuse me.
Oh yeah, your roll is definitely better. Sorry, I gotta put the sneak around music back on. It just fits too well. It makes you kind of do dancing. Yeah, so you guys look around for a bit, you don't find anything, and then Alterial, you find nothing. Nothing with fresh ink. It almost looks like the ink pots haven't even been touched recently. There's no record of anything here. It's almost like he left last night when you saw him leave and hasn't been back.
It's weird. Very strange. What about the knuckle bone that Revius had found? Would that be in with the regular collection, or would that have been with his stuff in his office?
You don't know. It was a conversation like years and years and years ago, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I don't
group doesn't
think
necessarily
she
know
would
about
have
Does the group know about the knuckle bone? Did you tell them earlier? I can't remember.
I did mention it in the when we were in the Hall of Records. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. What about in the basement where we were chasing the kobolds?
What about it?
Like, is there a chance that there'd be something? Well, actually, no, because he wouldn't have gone down there. He was gone already when we were down there.
You're asking all kinds of questions that my answer is going to be, you should go look and find out.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely think we should go look downstairs where we fought the kobolds.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. So you make your way down. It looks mostly untouched from the last time you were down there. So
Mostly.
Alterial, you know that this place is known as the Study, and it's kind of a backup place where a lot of the apprentices, anyone who's interested in dragons from the university would come. It has also been under, well, actually you wouldn't know that part. But yeah, this is where students would come and kind of students work out. Throw you back to that map because it gives us a little change of pace. And I'll also be able to put you guys back in the area there. Give it a second, I'll just drag you back up. Who drew over my dragon bones?
I did. I'm sorry. You can erase it. It didn't look like it was sticking.
So yeah, you get down there. There's nothing unusual about getting down there, but when you get into the room, I assume you're gonna start looking around. Anything in particular you're looking for? The 2 dead kobolds from last night are still there. Obviously, nothing's been cleaned or anything.
I'd like to look through the students' desks and those materials just to see if there's anything that. Well, I mean, I'm not going to know if anything's missing there, am I? But I'd still like to go through. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was saying, looking to see if anything's disturbed, if anything is written around about sort of that seems to be talking about various items in the museum, or giving people information about a museum. Somebody who's writing things that seem to be odd for.
Sure. As you look around, you actually realize, other than where the kobolds were, and it looks like some books have been pulled off shelves, there's actually a pretty thick layer of dust on most things here, especially the couches and some of the tables. It looks like it hasn't been used in a good while. That being said, anyone looking around, you will see... where are my notes? The thing that's been disturbed on the bookshelf, you would know, Altariel, is the complete collection of Drake Anthropology written by Venkus Jarhan and contributing researcher Revius Gridhorn. And the book on Black Dragon physiology is not with that collection.
Oh, crap.
It's actually on the stand behind you. If you see over, wrong window, I can't click on that one. Over here, right by where on that table, it's open there. And if you look at it, it's actually turned to a page about the bone structure of the wings of a black dragon.
Does that correspond to the wings, the skeleton that's on the ground there as well?
What can I have
Or
you
is that
roll? I guess
just coincidental?
do a medicine check. Do you think I do anything coincidentally? Come on.
I don't know, man. No, you never know. Ugh.
Looks like a wing of a dragon to you. You look back and forth, you can't
Thank
see the
you.
difference.
Awesome. So, not a history check? Like, well, no, I guess not. Okay, so
You're comparing bones
You
to
said
an
it-
illustration of bones, that's why I thought medicine was kind of appropriate.
that's fair. You said it's open to the physiology of the wings of black dragons specifically.
The whole book is about the physiology of black dragons, and the page it's open to is specifically about the bone structure of wings.
Now, was this a book? Did you say that Revius contributed to this as well, or just the one that's on the shelf?
So it's almost like there's one for every dragon, and he is.
Oh, it's like an anthology.
It's literally
Okay.
an anthology of it, yeah. So this book in particular, all of the books have him listed as a contributing researcher.
Okay.
You've heard
When
him
we
mention this.
noticed
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, when we notice the dust everywhere, does this book look like it is the dust disturbed in the space where all of, I know in the anthology, is the dust disturbed there, looking like this book has been recently removed from the shelf and brought over to here?
Yes, it looks so. It actually looks like it has specifically been sought out, pulled down, and actually this carpet here looks like it's had plenty disturbed on it. Almost like these bones aren't covered in dust. So these bones have been recently placed there.
Is there a way for me to tell if Revius would have left me any specific hint or note of anything going on in this room. Like, would he have cast some sort of, I don't know, like left some sort of hidden message somewhere or anything like that? This is me assuming that they took him out this way too, which they may not have done, but Alteriel's not sure about that.
Roll an Arcana check.
I mean, they may not have taken him anywhere.
It's true. Roll an Arcana check and tell me how you're looking around for this kind of thing.
God damn it.
So what is it? What is you looking for? Any kind of message?
So, I'm standing by the book and the disturbed bones, and I'm trying to concentrate and just sort of concentrate on Revius and kind of check for any sort of, for lack of a better way to say it, kind of magical imprint from him somewhere that he might have put somewhere that someone may not have noticed that he did very quickly if they took him out this way.
Okay.
Or maybe he knew we might come down here and left something.
How does that
Finnegan with us?
Yeah, he's there.
Can we ask Finnegan if he smells Revis?
So one step at a time.
Sorry.
I'm more getting at, like, what does it look like when you harness your arcane power to do this? Like,
so
are you reaching out with your hands and magic coming from there? Does like a film go over your eyes? What is?
So so Alteriel is just sort of, she is kneeling on the ground. Her hands are flat to the stone, and she's just sort of, there's kind of like a blue aura manifesting around her, and she has her eyes closed, and when that aura kind of gets a little bit bigger, and then her eyes open, and they're kind of like that blue white color, like you can't see the pupils in her eyes anymore. She's just trying to concentrate on finding something from Revius, and it sort of pulses out the way that kind of like sonar does, just sort of like checking.
Sure. I made you do all that role playing only to disappoint you, but you can't see anything. There's nothing down here. The only magic you're feeling is from Finnegan. Oh, Corexa is here. Sorry, let me just get rid of Corexa for you real quick. She's dead. The only magic you're getting down here is from any of the magic items you guys have and the latent magic that exists in different party members and Finnegan. And the dragon bones have a little bit as well. They're just innately magical.
Okay. Yeah, to Nefler's point, would if I looked at Finnegan and said, can you tell if Revius was here, would he be able to sense that?
He starts sniffing around. Let's give him. Oh. He sniffs around and he doesn't, then just comes back and sits next to you with his tongue out.
I pet him. Say, good try.
He leans into it.
I'd like to spend some time. I mean, I know that we've been walking around and the kobolds and we went through here, but kind of assuming that if he was here, if he was coming through here, they would have taken Revius out sort of through here. They kind of had to. Like looking around in the dust in the area around here to see if, I mean, things are going to be disturbed. We had a fight here last night, but really looking around that area, it seems like where they would have had to take him through, if he left a sign, any sort of sign, even just a sort of physical mundane scratching or sign someplace, that's where it would be. So Scanlan's going to sort of go over and try to, like, really carefully, inch at a time, kind of look through there and see if there's anything that looks like not just the shuffling and the dust and things, but actually a deliberately left sign.
And I should have been doing this all along, but I'll cast guidance on him.
Sure. Give us a check. Investigation.
What about?
Actually, we'll do perception for this one.
They are the same, but
you see an awful lot of kobold. You see a bunch of kobold tracks. You see disturbed area because it's very recently been kind of caved in, dug through this kind of area, but you don't see anything to indicate definitively someone left a mark this way. You don't see any drag marks of feet or anything, nothing like that.
All right.
So I look at the group and look at the room, and I look down at the bones and I say, I don't know if these are the bones of a black dragon, but whoever grabbed this book was specifically looking at the anatomy for black dragons. Between this and the skull and the kobolds, Xanish Vertes was a black dragon. This is all starting to kind of add together into something that does not sound very good. Can I take the book with me?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't see why you couldn't.
Okay, I take the book.
There's like, it's a pretty common one around. At least anyone like the library of the Citadel would definitely have a few copies of it. There's at least one copy in this area. There's probably a few more in the museum.
I would imagine Alteriel probably would have read it while she was at the Citadel, but I don't think she has a copy with her. And given the circumstance,
you're not carrying like 18 volumes around with you.
I don't have a bag of holding to put all of my books in. So working on that. But yeah,
the other group that's playing in this world has a bag of holding. Just saying.
They do. Jerks.
Is that the only book missing from the bookshelf that we can tell?
It's the only one recently, like, there's definitely holes in the bookshelf, like, it wasn't full, but it's the only one that's been recently disturbed. Yeah, it looks like something might have come along and, like, dragged their fingers. They're trying to read titles in a very dramatic way, but that's it.
Can kobolds read? Do we? And Scanlan is posing that question to Alteriel.
I mean,
you can give me a history check.
I don't think yeah, I'll give you a history check. Yeah, because I don't know that I would know that. Boop.
You're pretty sure they can read.
Yeah. Our second rolls have been monstrous tonight.
They have been.
Too bad you don't have advantage lately.
Too bad.
Yeah, you have. You're pretty sure they can read. They can also speak Common and Draconic.
Oh.
Okay.
Not to mention, one of the kobolds that was down here was a sorcerer, and we didn't end up getting. There wasn't a lot of interaction with it because it tried to cast a spell. I stopped it, and it ran away.
Yep.
Also, sorcerer doesn't necessarily mean you don't know it was a sorcerer. You know it was a sorcerer because I had a label on it, sorcerer. I don't know if it actually cast a spell at you or not. I think it did.
It did. Yeah, it did because I counterspelled it.
Yeah.
Right. You don't know if it's a sort like. Technically, sorcerers don't cast spells like wizards or need to read. They just have the power. But anyway.
And no, I get. I'm picking up what you're putting down. But yeah, so they can read, but I don't know. I mean, if they're being tasked with putting this together, but I have a feeling that maybe that wasn't the person who used the book, but I don't know.
Well, no, that was part of my point. It almost seemed like, it wasn't just the kobolds here last night. So is Thomas Brack or Lycilia or someone else, was someone else here last night too? And like, who else?
It's a good question.
Very good questions.
We weren't there when you got here. You only saw the kobolds. You didn't see anybody else, obviously.
When Raynor and I got here, and we got to the basement, it was just the kobolds. There wasn't anybody else.
So when we fought last night, we were kind of over in this area and coming down through there. the bookshelves are over here. Or the book.
These are the bookshelves here.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, I'm just trying to think of.
Yeah, there's like 8 bookshelves and they have like carpets under them.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to figure out, is there anywhere where wouldn't have gotten super scuffled up in the fight last night where we know that we weren't last night, that I mean, kobolds are much smaller than humans, that has sort of, are there any human footprints or human sized prints in any of the dust in an area that we know we weren't last night and haven't yet been in today?
That you can tell or see or notice. It'd be pretty easy to see based off the amount of dust and stuff that's here. It's interesting, there's a few places where it's a little strange because there was a winged kobold, and the winged kobold might have buffeted its wings a few times, so there's places where it looks like all the dust has been disturbed, but there's no specific footprints anywhere.
Okay.
All right, so with that, I think we're going to end it for the evening. So I would like to thank you guys for playing tonight. Thank you for getting one last game in before the holidays.
Thank you.
The question is, can we play next week? Does anyone have anything going on the 2nd? Wait, that's not right. Next week is the 29th. Sorry.
29th? No, I will still be here, not leaving my house.
I theoretically will be away, but I'll have my computer with me. So.
Well, if you're away, we don't want to interrupt your vacation time.
No, that's nuts. Believe me, 6 days with the family is quite enough. A couple hours to get away and play some D&D is.
What Rick is saying is, please save me. Let's play D&D.
Yeah, it works for me.
Like the doctor's note.
Regardless if there will be a game or not, we'll work that out off stream. There will at least be a tossing there will at least be a tossing rocks or talk show or something about D&D next week, same time. Thank you so much for the Crown DM for doing the raid and the host. Thank you for the new follows from everyone from the Crown DMs channel, followers, community. I really appreciate you guys coming by and sticking out and watching if you're still here. For now, I will say goodbye. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you another time. Have a great evening.